Right, and there we are. Yo, you got me over there?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh. Okay. I had a breakthrough a while ago.
What was your breakthrough?
On the UFOs. I think I mean, it's not good though. It's I think they're
am I getting feedback up on you a little bit?
Is that better?
Yeah. Yep, there we go.
Okay.
All right, you want to jump right into the UFO topic? You just save that to the end of the show.
No. Yeah. Well, no. I mean, I'm not gonna be able to wake up.
Well, I mean, look, it's more prominent though, with a couple of things that have dropped.
I'm saying there's too much shit going on for it to be like.
Yeah, I mean, they're.
I don't want to say for it to be a coincidence. There's just.
I mean, like, okay, it's hard to say, because I mean, like, the monolith thing is one thing, and then you have the sightings that, you know, they were talking about those on Rising. I think they were talking about a whole different set of sightings on Rogan.
There's a bunch. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. All of this shit coming out this week. Let me tweet this out. You won't want to miss it. You don't want to miss it.
Yep. You see, look at, there we go. Ads. Yep. We have ads now. Yeah. Well, I wanted to go ahead and throw that out to you. We are allowed to give certain people VIP status, so we went ahead and handed them out to people that, you know, we've seen pop in there more often, and we set up all the different kind of shit, I guess, that you can do when you're an affiliate. So you have badges, subscriber stuff, bits and points. All of that got set up already. So yeah, if you all have that Prime thing and you can use this for your one free sub, that'd be cool. You have like a little bit of an incentive there with our little system we set up last night.
What?
We see. No, we have 3 tiers of subscriptions. Yeah. So Gears is asking.
That's that heat we need for Biden.
There you go. Yeah, we have 3. We have 3 tiers of subscriptions. What were the names that we came up with for our subscription tiers?
Occult leftist.
Yeah, that was the first one. So Occult Leftist is our level 1 subscription on Twitch, by the way, because I know we're simulcasting. So yeah, on Twitch our level 1 subscriber thing is Occult Leftist. Level 2 was AOC Simp, and then level 3 is Head Plague Doctor. There you go. See?
Yeah.
We gave this a lot of thought. And yeah, and
I mean, we should have done it so that like the cool one was the expensive one.
I thought the cool one is the expensive one.
I think I would, of those things, I feel like I would rather be, the thing I'd want to be most is the first thing.
Oh,
you know?
I'd rather be Head Plague Doctor, you see?
Yeah, but you're like, why do you want to fucking deal with like sick plague patients?
No, but you're the Head Plague Doctor though. Like you're like the head dude in charge. You're that dude.
Yo, we got subscribers?
Yeah, we have some subscribers. Well, you can check that. I don't even know how you look at that, but yeah, we have some subscribers.
Hey, what's going on, John? Manager, dog. So wait a minute. You got an ad when you signed in?
Yeah,
You guys?
so I know John's one of our subscribers now. John's got to skip the ads. Gears, I gave him VIP though. So I don't think that lets you skip ads though, even if you're VIP.
I Well, because I picked the setting, you can either pick that they auto run,
Uh
or you can deploy them yourself. And I
yeah.
thought I picked the setting to deploy them ourselves.
Oh yeah,
Um,
my bad. Yeah, I was messing with that. I mean, I figured rather than you getting caught up, because you get sidetracked, bro. We're talking about something, you're all over here tweeting or trying to figure out when to run an ad. So weird. I don't know
you
how to see
forget to
the other
do it.
tiers. Yeah, I don't. I'm not sure how you go and look. Yeah, when I went onto it, because I go on to our account from my personal Twitch account, and then yeah, all the tiers were there when I went onto there. I mean, I used my Prime subscription though, but yeah, all the three tiers were there when I was going ahead and looking to subscribe to the channel and everything. So I'm not sure. I couldn't
Um,
tell you.
yeah, you guys need to start clipping content for us so we don't have to.
Well, I mean,
Um,
we gotta keep active on the YouTube site though. So there's every so often
yeah,
we're gonna go ahead and throw something
yeah. People
there
can clip it,
daily.
and then we can put it on YouTube. We clip it, and it stays on our Twitch, and then we can upload it to YouTube
And
when we see
well,
somebody clipped it.
yeah, but we can't just rely on we gotta keep up to date
Yeah.
and put some current shit out there. Nothing's been more satisfactory than when we actually do a segment and then later on all them other big channels go ahead and follow suit and do the shit that we just covered.
Um,
There's been an odd level of satisfaction for me from doing that.
uh, yeah. Well, um, I think.
Like I was trying to
Yeah.
convince you to
No. I
do
mean, yeah.
I was trying to convince you to do that 8 trait um, political thing that I saw Kyle do on the live stream this morning.
Um,
He did
um,
it was back to back live streams. He was over there doing the personality test, right? And then
yeah. I didn't watch either of them.
what's up?
Um, yeah. I didn't watch either of them.
Yeah, I watched through the whole thing.
Well, what did it say that he's a lib?
What what do you call it? His political idea. It was a libertarian socialist.
Um, Libertarian socialist. I think
Mm.
that mine was like eco-Marxist or something when I did it.
Yeah, my I think mine was, I guess, if you're looking on the spectrum, was to the right of yours, right? I
Um,
know when we did the
I don't.
regular.
I don't know if it was like that. I forget what it was, but I think on one of the tests that we took, I thought you came out. Maybe it was the compass test. I thought you came out further left than me on something.
No. I
Um,
remember that on the political compass test, you came out to the left of me, and I came out more authoritarian, and slightly to the right of you.
I know, but I feel like when I take those, I give the answer that like I want to come out. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to admit how authoritarian I am because like you know I, I feel like
All right. Well,
we need a strong authoritarian
well, I mean,
right
I'm
now.
not. We have a lot of stuff that we can talk about today. I wanted to talk about I wanted it's for the 51st anniversary of Fred Hampton's assassination. So I wanted to talk about that for our history thing. Um, then there since we are talking about all this UFO stuff, I wanted to see if y'all if what the stream thought about doing another one of those movie nights. I sent you that B movie that's actually loaded up on YouTube. We can get away with showing B movies that are on YouTube. We apparently because we did that for
Did
Halloween.
you just wiggle your mic? Because it just did that thing I was talking about where it
No.
sounded like your cord came out.
All right, wait. Did it? What is it doing? Hear something? No. Okay, this looks wrong.
It got loud for a second.
Well, I'm telling you, I'm like leaned into it, so it makes a difference if I'm like right up on it or if I'm backed up from it. Oh yeah,
I don't think that's it because you lean in
yeah,
sometimes and that doesn't change it.
yeah. Well, let me show you the clip that I'm proposing that we go ahead and see for the stream. Let's see shadow. Let's see. Let's see.
Went to a higher tier. I would have.
All right, let me see.
Damn.
All right, let's see what y'all think about this. Maybe we can go ahead and do this for one of the live streams. Okay.
Got an emo. Thanks.
Yeah, we got
Years.
yeah, we unlocked a bunch of those things, so we got to figure out how to work them. But okay, so check this out. This is the movie. See what y'all think.
Is that like some Scientology shit? I mean, so you're basically saying like you want to do like an episode of MST3K.
How was that?
Like, whoa.
No, don't. I just can't
Whoa.
think straight since the other night.
What happened to
Oh,
us?
it's fucking, what's his name?
What you saw. A ball of light. I tried to get away, but I got stuck on the side
Oh,
of
it's
the
Ball
road.
Lightning.
Coming right at us. Get us out of here.
That's all I remember. I advise
What's his
you,
name?
Tell no one else
Eric
about
Roberts.
this incident.
That's it.
Help me!
Hey, what did that man want?
They said I wasn't supposed to say anything about
Is
it.
that-
So out in the desert.
That's not Zed
why?
though, right?
I'll never get
It's the
to
guy
see
who looks
you
just like
all
Zed.
again. Dad, I'm scared.
These guys want from us. They have a tape.
You know, Zed,
Find
like
it.
from Pulp Fiction.
Stan Mills.
Oh yeah, I know
I
what you're
need
talking
your
about. No, that's
help.
not him.
Some say that they're Air Force, some say they're CIA, or they're aliens.
Not
Where's your
aliens.
husband, Mrs. Wilson?
Who the hell?
Hot.
And that's the girl from Twin Peaks, right? God damn. You look so
12
fake.
gauge.
I know.
How many
I
shots
know.
were you?
One in the chamber and 4 in the mag. You ever fired a gun before?
Got another clip?
2 minutes to D-Day.
Yeah, that's, what's her face?
One in the mag, one in the chamber.
Not Shelly.
Once you
Yeah.
make contact, TNT.
What's her name?
There's no escape.
I don't know her name. I need to look it. I'm gonna look it up
The
right now.
rich guy's daughter. The Shadow Man.
The Shadow Man.
Yeah, I mean, we could be into that. I was gonna say maybe
Yeah.
we could watch like one of those UFO documentaries if we can get permission for it.
yeah, I don't know if-
Sherilyn Few
Yeah, that's her name.
or Finn. I mean, that's her name in real life. Sherilyn Finn.
Sherilyn Finn. I know I've seen her in something, but yeah. See, that's what I thought. Like, yeah, it looks freaking hilarious. This is a trippy. There's a trippy thing about it. I don't know if this is like a Mandela effect kind of thing that happened. But this was funny. That year that
Remember those-
movie, the year that movie came out was 1997, and that was the year the original Men in Black also came out. And I very distinctly remember at the time that this movie was also called The Men in Black. Yeah, and then it had the misfortune of coming out the same year as Will Smith's Blockbuster, and it was also about Men in Black, but it was a completely different take on it. But I remember that thing coming out on like CM and Cinemax or HBO and all that kind of shit. And at the same time, and getting confused back and forth about, okay, which Men in Black is, because they would have to show one or the other. But
Yo,
it just
Gears
looks
is
so
going off in the
fake.
chat. Look at that.
Oh, let's see. Yeah, Gears is. Let's see what's Gears
He's gonna
doing.
start a hype train by himself.
Well, we have all that stuff in place now. You see this? That's why I spent all night working on the infrastructure.
Look at that.
But yeah,
I'm
but
not
yeah,
sure what all that means, but it looks pretty cool.
but yeah, I mean, it
mean,
looks like it's setting off the tip jar over here. That's pretty dope.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, but you know,
mean-
I was talking to John earlier in the day too. PK over there in the chat. He was asking me about, you know, the possibility of some kind of Men in Black thing, and if, you know, like how we were going over it with the government and having all these different shadow organizations within the bureaucracies that are compartmentalized from even from the president. And yeah, I guess we're already going into this kind of stuff now just because it's so prevalent. But yeah, like, yeah, you do one of those freaking emotes. This is gonna distract me, but
Whoa. He's handing out subs to everybody in the chat. Oh, fucking this.
well, but what they were explaining on Rogan was that same thing, was how things are compartmentalized. You know what I mean?
There's no way they would tell Trump.
And even a president had information kept from him and you had all these aspects of the agency state not wanting to have things or certain things released, right? So, again, I like we talked about last night, I would not rule out a possibility of some kind of entity in the government that acts by and large independently and decides to classify certain things or to keep things under wraps.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's totally plausible. Like, it's just that if there is, we don't know anything about it because,
right?
We do hear a good bit of, like, info kind of leaked and this stuff. See, here's the thing. Like, I don't want to be a bummer, but I think this stuff coming out this week is it's a limited hangout of sorts or whatever, a misdirection.
A misdirection.
Yeah, it's to get these people to shut up about the fucking election theft, right?
So it's a way to throw them like a bone, so they're
thinking, okay, we gotta like get something for the conspiracy people out there, right? Like we gotta get because if you look at like r/conspiracy and places like that, it's just post after post about they're stealing the election, like they're gonna do the Great Reset, the vaccine's fake.
I feel like they would only want to go ahead and do that if there was actually something to hide in terms of the election.
No, they just want them to shut up about it. They just don't want that conversation happening.
They're annoyed?
No, it's hurting confidence in our systems, right?
Well,
it's been doing that.
Yeah.
Trump's been saying, like, oh, they stole it, folks. And then these people are saying they stole it. Like, they're doing these press conferences and talking about it nonstop. And I haven't seen anything credible that looks to me like it was stolen. I mean, the stuff that people are presenting as evidence all looks pretty lame to me. Like the thing they're all obsessed about now, that ballot box that was like underneath the table. And they claim that was like hidden, like some cache of hidden Biden ballots.
The new lawsuit that was spit out there in Georgia, just asking straight up for a do-over. And they was that I'm not sure if the answer to that complaint that I reposted, if that was to the Georgia lawsuit, or I mean, there's just so many out there, but that shit was fucking hilarious.
I mean, if they just filed it today, they're not going to have any kind of response to it yet, unless the judge laughed at it.
Well,
but you have all this stuff that's been coming out, this drip of conspiracy theories, and Alex Jones and like the globalist and everybody is
Roger Stone
hammering on it. Yeah, they won't stop talking about it, and they can't get Trump to shut up about it. Like, nothing they could do, right? And they can't get other forces in MAGA, in the MAGA coalition to stop talking about it. So what did they do? Like, oh, look over here. Look at this shiny object we got. We got this new, footage from a Navy pilot. We got all this stuff, and it's not like it happened. Some of the sightings were recently, right? But there's I think the one from that Rising video, I think that is from 2019, and it's coming out of right-wing media, right?
Yeah.
Like it's in like the Washington Examiner, and I think this debrief site is probably.
Well, see, this
I don't know. I haven't checked out it. But.
This is the thing that I tweeted out, by the way, from the show account. So this lawsuit that one-time Trump legal team member Sidney Powell has been promising would be biblical. Perhaps plaintiffs should have consulted with Proverbs 14:5, which teaches that a faithful witness does not lie, but a false witness breathes out lies. Few lawsuits breathe more lies than this one. The allegations are a little more than fevered rantings of conspiracy theorists built on the work of other conspiracy theorists. Plaintiffs rely on affidavits of so-called experts. Really confident to me.
Yeah, this is the DA in Georgia. This is their response,
right?
Or is this?
Yeah, no, that was their response to their complaint that they were filing. I'm not sure. That's what I'm saying. I'm not sure if this was the one in Georgia, but I'm thinking that's what it was, right? But I mean, as far as what you would write up in a legal brief, that's just fucking hilarious. Like
I
I couldn't
mean,
have
what
wrote.
was I gonna say?
I couldn't have. No, I mean that's pretty animated language. I mean for what you read as far as legal crap.
But I
Like
mean,
most of the
there's
time, it's
nothing they
not
can
that
really do.
entertaining.
I mean, the usually the introduction is where the good stuff is. They give you the like the recitation effects from a biased perspective, so it gives you like the
Yeah, I mean,
opposing
inclined to think that
side's
is
angle.
Georgia, since they threw the Bible verse in, and then usually when you're looking at legal crap from the South, you find that interjected in some way or another. Just from what I've read. Let me see. So this is the thing that the Trump campaign went and filed. Let's see here. So yeah, Trump campaign files election contest in Georgia. Election contest lawsuit documents tens of thousands of illegal votes, including in the GA presidential vote totals, rendering the November 3rd, 2020 election results null and void. Suits ask court to vacate and enjoin the certification of the election. So the Trump campaign filed an election contest today in Georgia, in Georgia State Court, seeking to invalidate the state's November 3rd, 2020 presidential election results. Joining President Trump and the Trump campaign in the lawsuit is David Schaefer, chairman of the Georgia Republican Party, who is also a Trump presidential elector. What was filed today clearly documents that there are literally tens of thousands of illegal votes that were cast, counted, and included in tabulations the Secretary of State is preparing to certify, says Reyes Smith, lead counsel for the Trump campaign. Massive irregularities and mistakes, potential fraud, violates Georgia election code, making it impossible to know with certainty the actual outcome of the presidential race in Georgia. See, attached to
that's not what happened, though. I mean, that's not what the documents prove. The documents postulated that this is what's happening. They have to go to court and prove that, which
they can't even get past the making a complaint stage.
Like, I could write a complaint saying, like, fucking Bernie won. It doesn't mean anything's going to happen from it. But the fact that they can go and put this press release out there and get coverage on all these right-wing networks, and the grown-ups, whoever they are in the situation, have no ability to curtail that, right? They have no ability to say, like, oh, this is bullshit, don't listen to that, because everybody is so cloistered in their own circle of, like, ideological circle that there's they won't listen. They'll just be like, yeah, right, goddamn lib, like they won't have there's no objective authority where they can point to. And like, even if the court throws it out, like we've seen, even when Trump appointed judges say this is bullshit, they still don't believe it, right? They say that like the judge is a lib, or like, and that's, if you look at our conspiracy, that's what it is people with their theories, like reposting right-wing stuff and like other stuff that's attacking. Like, did you see that guy died today? There was some aide who died in a car crash this morning.
No.
He was Loeffler's aide, or
Loeffler's aide?
Kemp's. Yeah, he worked for Kemp or Loeffler, one or the other, and he died, and they're claiming he was Seth Rich. Like, that's what I'm saying. So like, it's what?
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Look what they say here, though. Data experts also provided sworn testimony in lawsuits identifying thousands of illegal votes, 2,560 felons, 66,247 underage voters, 2,423 votes from people not registered, 1,043 individuals registered at post office boxes, 4,926 individuals who voted in Georgia after registering in another state, and 395 individuals who voted in two states, 15,700 people votes from people who moved out of state before the election, 40,000 votes from people who moved without re-registering in their new county, and another 30 to 40,000 absentee ballots lacking proper signature matching and verification. I mean, where did they where did they get those numbers from? And like, I'm surprised of all of those, the one they kind of singled out more is the underage voters. Apparently 66,000 underage voters came out and were all gung-ho about going out for Biden, right?
they're like, it was like that Michigan testimony we looked at yesterday with that drunk lady.
Right.
And she kept saying, "Oh yeah, the numbers don't match. Really, they don't. The poll look." It's that, right? It's from, they have the record of people going into the election, like who they think is in that precinct, who they're expecting to show up, who's voted before or whatever, and then on the day of, it doesn't match because people move. People register the day of. Like, I guess Georgia, you can register day of. I didn't think you could, but I guess you can.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that. It surprised me for the South.
Well, in Illinois, you can register day of. In Michigan, too. So that's why they had 120% of the precinct report it, you know?
Right.
And they were like, oh, 120%, right? That is just people who showed up and changed their precinct and registered that day. And they have records of all that. It's like, the thing that's so frustrating is even when they show them, like, no, this is what happened, they still try to dismiss it. They still say that, like, oh, you know, that's just lib shit, you know, it's not, that didn't happen, or, you know, they were goddamn illegals, you know, some stuff like that.
You had that one other Trump witness coming out saying all Chinese people look the same and all that shit.
Yeah, I mean, that's
like, what the, like, it's beyond parody at that point. You know, when, I mean, like, the fact of it is, I mean, it just comes down to the fact, I mean, it just comes down to it that they just don't know how to take the fucking L. And they can't rectify it. They can't rectify the fact that their guy lost. And he can't, because he can't. And he keeps coming out there saying, there's no way I lost. You know, and then at that point, it's a disseminating message from the top on down, where they can't square what happened with their own version of reality. Yeah.
And there's no way to, they're never going to not believe that, is the other thing, right? Like, you know, like the Hillary people, even after they did this entire Mueller report, like all of that stuff, these people still, like that Chris Hayes thing I retweeted yesterday, like, he said they should dismiss the Assange case, right? The trial.
Yep. And
all the replies were like, why would they want to do that? He's a Russian asset, you know, like he's a Russian cutout, right? They were using all their, like, you know, their, like, intelligence agent, like, language, like the lingo is all that the liberals all picked up, right? So, like, that's a prime example of what happens, right? The misinformation from the media and the biased sources gets out into the community, and you believe what you want to believe. None of these people will ever not believe what they saw, right? So that's the guy who told you the misinformation. The guy from MSNBC said, yo, this is actually, you know, he didn't say I was wrong, but he said something that's contrary to the prevailing wisdom. And then they all just replied, like, how could you, Chris? Like, you know, like, just mad at him.
Right.
Like, it's like what we saw. Like, when they say something bad about Biden, all the, you know, the MSNBC stands are like, oh, he's lying. He's working for Trump. Like, that's the state of the play,
I mean,
right?
That's what you mean when you say blue MAGA. You see, and it's the same kind of reaction. It's just different topics. You know, like, actually, you know, I saw Nick did a tweet earlier about this too. Sure, I can find it. He had he was tweeting at somebody that was trying to go about Trump withdrawing 700 troops from Somalia.
Mm-hmm.
And then Nick is over here saying, I bet you can't even say what the hell we have troops in Somalia for. Here we go.
Call it down.
Yeah, excuse me. Actually, I found it. Here we go.
No, I have no clue what they're doing in Somalia.
See, libs really believe this shit. So here we go. Trump orders Pentagon to pull nearly all 700 troops from Somalia. See, has he gone mad? There you go. Zero chance you can explain why we are there. They're like, to create stability.
Has he gone mad?
That was the original thing. Has he gone mad? And then zero chance you can explain why we are there.
Did he reply to that?
Yeah. To create stability.
What? Create stability? What? So
You see, like
the fact
there's always a
like-
reason to play this.
Oh God.
Yeah, that's fucked up, man. They like I could see them saying that about Syria or Iraq or Afghanistan or somewhere where we have clearly, or not clearly, but clearer definition of what we're trying to accomplish there. Somalia, nobody even knows. Like, I don't even know what the fuck we're doing in Somalia. You know, like, and
No, we have troop presence in how many different? I mean, countless different countries.
like 160 different countries.
Yeah, and
literally
and for what reason?
to create stability, Tony. Yeah, see, Aaron knows.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Aaron. See, to create stability. That's our whole reasoning. We're over there just making the whole world a much more stable place, apparently.
Yeah. I think he's doing that so he can focus more on his drone game.
His drone game.
He was a little upset that Obama has more civilian deaths than him. He needs to pick up the pace, try to get that out. I don't know, man. I was really stoked about this UFO stuff.
Well, I mean, you said that okay. So let's get back to it. So you are feeling that it's meant to be a sort of distraction.
Yeah.
I
mean, that's my theory. I mean, you know, obviously, I want to be wrong about that.
But so what is it like stage shit that they're throwing out there now?
No, put on that Rising video.
All right, let
that's
me.
a good overview.
Let's go with Rising. Let's go to Sagar and Ryan Grimm. You know, I like referring to them as like our correspondents. There you go.
Developments in the last couple of days on UFOs. And yes, because Crystal is out, I'm going to cover his UFOs as much as I want to. Not that she's against it.
Shoulders.
She's against it. I'm just very into it. Okay, so this all started out on a website called The Debrief. Let's throw this up there. So The Debrief, very interesting news organization on science, tech, and aerospace, spoke with a lot of U.S. military and intelligence officials about the UAPTF. Now, I want everybody to take that in. The Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force. Now, this task force, we've talked a lot about that here, that's what is working with Congress and the Intelligence Committee. Well, it turns out, according to The Debrief, they spoke with a bunch of officials about a new report that's been circulating around the Pentagon and within the intelligence community. Now, I'm going to read some direct quotes to everyone. Everyone The Debrief spoke with said that the most striking feature of a recent report was the inclusion of a new, extremely clear photograph of an unidentifiable triangular aircraft. Now, yesterday,
you want to pause and zoom in on that?
These photos. So the first.
What the fuck? Never mind. What the fuck is that?
All right, so this is the craft, right? So it ascended
that's-
from the ocean.
So it's not even the triangular point. Like the point should be in the other direction, right?
Well, I mean,
it's heading up. It's got the what's it called? What's the name for that? But the wider end is facing up instead of the aerodynamic end.
right.
That's first of all weird.
Yeah, because I mean, you wouldn't expect, you know, some. Yeah, I mean, it's like you think about like a paper airplane. You know, the pointed end of the plane is what helps it guide through the air, right? It's just
the propulsion. So even if the propulsion is gravity driven, which you know that's what I want it to be, it would still have to deal with wind resistance.
I don't know about that.
I mean, unless it has like a pocket of, you know.
Because it
like
said that the entire what Bob Lazar said was that the entire atmosphere around it is affected. So it's like it doesn't matter the medium in which it moves, whether it's water, air, space, it's all the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Regardless
so, I
of
mean, that would
resistance.
make sense then.
Yeah. Let me keep playing it. Oh, can't hear it. Oh, that's weird. Let me bounce it back. Let's see.
Into contact with a
How's
U.S.
that?
Air
You got that,
Force
PJ?
plane actually jammed their radar, technically an act of war. And what's important to acknowledge about all this is that part about the ocean. This is now consistent with a couple of different
That's weird. I wonder
verified
what
accounts of
that's the
U.S.
second time
military
it's done that to me.
personnel that are encountering this. And Ryan, you and I were talking before the segment. In some cases now, nuclear attack submarines are said to have encountered some of these vehicles under the ocean. And I remind everybody, the Tic Tac one in 2005 was actually observed, by Commander Fravor, saying that it might have been communicating with something in the subsurface. So this isn't just something which is aerial necessarily. This is just something that kind of defies the laws of physics. It just changes the way that we think about flying. I mean, whenever you have a propulsion system,
thought people were
which doesn't
into
require
ASMR.
like air and burning air, you fly just same underwater as you do in the air. Are you a ship? Like, I don't know.
Well, are there other theories that that the Army is throwing out, or the military is throwing out, as to what else could be going on here?
Great question. In terms of the military, they don't mention any. Now, in the debrief article, what they talk about is something called a weather dropsonone, and that is like a triangular-ish. I wish I had a picture that I could throw up here. I should have thought about that. Which is attached by string to a larger weight. And the reason why they generally think they can rule that out is because the string and the weight are not attached in terms of that triangular phenomena. The other one people were talking about is a Mylar balloon. That's been the case in several different ones. That one, look, I don't have an explanation. It's certainly possible. What I would say is, I do not think an FA-18 fighter pilot takes out his cell phone to take a photo of something when it's a Mylar balloon. I just think that given the amount of time that these guys spend up there in the air, we're talking about tens of thousands of hours of airtime, of so much more, they know how to distinguish between something that they believe to be something emerging from the ocean and going at a right 90-degree angle, and like a Mylar balloon, which is just like going around. Right. So look, I mean, this is just another tool in the cap. And as we've said, and actually it's interesting, a lot of people contacted me after our last segment when you were asking, like, why would they keep this secret? A lot of it has to do with the nuclear program and some of the more secret elements of the U.S. military arsenal and their own, contact that has come in with these vehicles. But, it's just day after day after day, the situation gets a lot more interesting.
I'm glad we're learning more about it. I'm glad that, credible outlets like the one that you just elevated are looking at this in a way where people who haven't been following it religiously for years can have a place to go to and look at it in a serious way.
Yeah, I try hard to break it down on only the most credible ones and Pentagon reports, things with photos, that type of thing, because it's very easy to be dismissed. There's been a lot of propaganda about this for many, many years. Anyway, next week on
Let me go back
the
to this
triangular
thing.
craft
Let me go back to this thing really
emerged
fast.
from
Actually, let me see if I can find that tweet. Where is this? UFO study. All right, let me look at that tweet. Let's see.
See, yeah, I mean, it's from 2018, so why does it leak this week? I mean, it could still be legit, right? It could still be like, all right, they did the info drop this week for strategic reasons, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't discount the fact that this was actually taken. I don't think it's fake. Like, I don't think they doctored this image. Like,
yeah, I mean, like, let's see. I'm interested in seeing where the narrative goes with this picture, but if you expected the image to be crisp and definitive like the rendition, that didn't happen. So this is the artist recreation as of the image described in the UA PTF intelligence report issued in 2020. So this description of the craft I've actually heard in multiple UFO documentaries where it's like looks like a slice of pizza, has lights in three areas in the three corners of the craft. And then,
what was the real pic we saw though?
So that's the artist recreation, and that's what they saw. That's the.
Yeah, but we have the real picture, so this
that's the real. That's the you can see right there how
that's an artist recreation of that scene.
Yeah, it's to make it more clear. So this is the artist recreation. This is what they actually saw because I think he whipped out his iPhone or something and just took a picture from the jet, right?
Which is why we have it, because whatever was on his official stuff was classified.
Right, and then this is the photo, so you can see from. Okay, so that on its own, it doesn't look too weird to me, but the fact that it popped out of the fucking water.
That doesn't look weird to you?
No, I mean it could look like a rock. I don't know. I mean, or like or it could look like a fucking balloon. I mean, the flight pattern is what makes it weird. Because look at the thing that they reposted here. So let's see. So there's what they said. Skeptics should be held to a high standard as well. How the fuck do you analyze a military leak and conclude it's a Batman balloon? Maybe a large balloon with purpose, but a Batman balloon out here. I mean, look. So if you see this floating off in the distance, it's probably going to look about the same shape. But it's not going to fly the way that they described that it flew. You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen.
No, let's see. The photo appears to be the same one as referenced in their previous reporting, described as an unidentified silver cube-shaped object encountered by military pilots as it hovered motionlessly over the ocean.
Let's see, according to PJ, they're just trying to make cover for the CIA's use of Fulton extraction system.
What's Fulton extraction system?
Fulton extraction system. Never heard of that before.
Here, do you want to pull up this debrief article?
All right, where do you?
I think I sent it to you, right?
All right, yeah, send it over to me.
There's two. There's a longer one that the longer one is like a much more in-depth story that came out a couple of days ago, and we can go through that.
Fulton extraction system. You know, if that was from MGS3, then I probably missed it. Or if it was from MGS5, yeah, those are the only two that I didn't play. The rest of them, you can make references from Metal Gear Solid or Metal Gear Solid 2 all day. I'll probably catch those.
I don't know.
World 1.
Like,
all right, let me see.
So off the east coast of the United States in 2018. Caught it with his cell phone. It's the backseat driver, the weapons operator of an F-18 fighter jet.
All right, so see, leaked photo surface of purported unidentified aerial phenomena. So the UAPs.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. The debrief has learned of a leak of an unclassified photo said to have been widely distributed in the intelligence community, which purportedly shows that what the DOD has characterized as unidentified aerial phenomenon. So the debrief reported on two classified intelligence reports issued by the Pentagon's Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force. See what we're talking about? Have you ever heard of these people before?
Who?
The Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force.
That's the one that they disclosed this summer. That's not the what's it called? The UTIP or the Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon, whatever. The one that's not the Bigelow one. That's a different one. That's a follow-up one that I think is a little bit more like a less. Like, I think the Bigelow one was just a grift. I think that was just like him getting government money to finance, giving money to a bunch of like, ufologist cranks and like the To the Stars people and all like the Skinwalker Ranch. Like they basically gave Bigelow money to like buy out Skinwalker Ranch and the Jeremy Corbin, all those grifters.
Yeah, see, so well, you think Jeremy Corbin is a grifter? Really?
I mean, I think he's he's more interested in his career than anything else. Like, I mean, I'm sure he's into it, right? But like,
I don't know. I mean, I thought the documentary he made with Lazar was pretty good, and even when he was on Rogan those couple times.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying he's not good at it. But he's a careerist, I guess. I mean, it's not a bad thing, I guess. I mean, he's
let's see. So let's see. So there's that image that we caught. While details are difficult to make out, our image appears to depict an inverted bell-shaped object, which is not readily identifiable given the photo's context. The object appears to possess ridges or other protrusions along its lateral edges extending towards the base. So it bears some resemblance to a GPS drop zone, an atmospheric profiling device designed to be dropped from aircraft. However, notably absent in the pilot's photo is a GPS receiver, which trails the drop zone square and a cone parachute. Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is it at all. Like, this is what it's supposed to be. It's not. That's not it.
Yeah, I don't think that's it.
No. And we're gonna go ahead to play that Rogan clip from the podcast that he had to.
I mean, this is what all of those craft look like. They all have that same basic shape to it. The triangle-looking thing.
The triangle thing, the bell. Like, I remember that I saw this documentary a long time ago where they were talking about Germany having experimental craft or access to experimental craft, and that's why they had that whole the Operation Paperclip where they transferred all those German scientists over, because apparently they had first access to this technology before we did, and the object was to keep a wrap on it.
I think that was just because they knew how to do the V2 rocket. I don't necessarily think they knew how to do.
But it went beyond the V2 rocket. It went into all these experimental craft and certain alternate weapon systems that Hitler had in development with these scientists.
Well, I'm pretty knowledgeable about Operation Paperclip, so if we haven't uncovered any of those details by now, then like I said, there could be all of this stuff. Like, Men in Black could be real. It's just that we don't know about it. And like I said, I follow this stuff pretty closely, and I don't think I've seen any evidence for something like that. There's people who think that Hitler had the time machine and they
apparently sent people to Antarctica and shit like that.
Yeah, I was really into that for a while. I did a lot of research on that story. That is kind of weird, right? And the Nazis went to Antarctica, then the Americans sent a group to meet them, and there could be there's probably cool shit in Antarctica that we don't know about.
And then there was a thing I had caught actually, since we're on the subject. Climate change has melted enough ice that they recovered a few ancient artifacts from I think it was from Norway, spears and that kind of stuff from that are at least 6,000 years old. and like they've been pretty well preserved because of the ice that was there. But then
6,000-year-old spears in Norway. Wow.
Yeah,
that's pretty badass.
And then since you brought up Hitler, apparently Adolf Hitler has just recently won an election. Did you catch that?
Oh, I saw that. Yeah. Where was that? Argentina?
No, this was funny. It wasn't in Argentina. It was in Namibia?
Namibia.
Yeah. So check. 2020 just keeps getting crazier. Anyone have Adolf Hitler wins an election on their bingo card?
Well, that's like in Brazil. People they change their name to like
Adolf Hitler
Unona
was elected with 85% of the vote in a regional election in Namibia, a former German colony.
Yeah, I saw an article the other day too about how the Nazis are not looked upon as negatively in
South
India.
America or what?
No, in India.
Oh yeah, no. In India, no, because you got to think about it. At that point, India was trying to break free of colonialism for Britain, and they were kind of glad to have Britain occupied.
It's like in World War I, the Irish were working with the Germans.
Right.
You know, like
so it's the same kind of dynamic. Let's see. Let's go to Joe Rogan's.
Are we done with this? Let me scan the rest of this. If there's anything else in here.
All right.
I want to look at that longer article too, if we have time. It was also expressed to us that the photo is not related to an image provided in a separate intelligence report released earlier this summer. Officials who had seen that report said it contained an image of a large equilateral triangle with rounded or blunted edges and large, perfectly spherical white illuminated areas in each corner. The image of the large triangular craft was said to have been captured in 2019. So this is a different craft. Wow. So, I mean, between this stuff and the stuff, the TikTok and all,
this
stuff has been out there for years.
Of course it has. Of course it has. I mean, that's why you have certain reoccurring sightings all throughout history when you have artist renderings and you move on to, photographs and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, XCOM is real.
What's XCOM?
he's dropping the MGS references, I think is what he's doing over here. Yeah, PJ, that first one is Phantom of Pain. That's like a Phantom of Pain thing. Yeah, I didn't get to in the Phantom of Pain.
It's so the one guy said it's not a Mylar balloon. Some variety of military radar reflector or research balloon. Two defense officials we spoke with said pilots who encountered the object described that, unlike a balloon under similar conditions, the object was completely motionless and seemingly unaffected by ambient air currents. They did not describe the photo as compelling. All three officials we spoke with seemed dismissive of the idea that it depicts a balloon. According to these sources, the photo would not have been issued if there were reasonable estimates that the object was a balloon, given the nature of the intelligence report in which it appeared. Has not been able to speak with the pilots involved. In 2018, the Navy changed its guidelines concerning the reporting of unknown objects. And the surfing of this photograph seems to indicate that some aviators are coming forward with sighting reports. Yeah, before 2018, they had all these things set up in place so that you never came forward. You were basically mocked and it wasn't reported, right? So then in 2018, after they had the ATIP program, it became new protocol that they had to start reporting them again. So it sounds like that's happening.
Yeah,
because they've been seeing these stuff for years, right? And most of them you don't hear about.
Well, okay. Let's go to Rogan because they did say some kind of compelling stuff in this thing.
The Rogan thing is good.
Yeah, check this out.
Former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence, Christopher Mellon.
Volume should be good, I think.
Sent this to me about 15 minutes ago, and he wanted me to read it verbatim. So I was going to read this. It's pretty startling stuff. So I'll read it. In the last 48 hours, the public has learned of two stunning incidents captured on film by U.S. Navy carrier pilots earlier this year. One of the cases features a photo of a bizarre flying sphere and a black cube inside that is identical to dozens of other reports by Navy pilots. These
spear with
strange
a
objects
black
have been
cube
shadowing
inside.
the East Coast
We didn't see
naval
that
ops
pic.
since 2015.
This is something
They
else.
sometimes maneuver in formation and have occasionally been reported achieving supersonic speeds. The other incident produced a stunning, detailed photograph of a massive triangular-shaped vehicle that emerged from the ocean
Yo,
and
yeah, this is the
flew
one.
vertically, straight up and out of sight, just past a Navy F-18 operating off the U.S. Aircraft carrier. These iPhone photos taken by the pilots should be released to the public, as there are no sources and methods to protect, and the national security benefits of raising awareness regarding this issue vastly outweigh any conceivable benefit from concealing the information. It is hard to believe that in the face of such radical and incredible technology within our vast Defense Department, we only have a so-called task force consisting of 2 individuals with no budget who are still being stiff-armed for access to relevant and timely information by the Air Force and other security organizations. By comparison, 60 years ago, in response to Sputnik, America entered the space race, which led to landing on the moon. Our government needs to wake up and address the far greater technology gap that these and many other incidents are revealing. There is obviously a glaring strategic mismatch between the current task force and the technology that has been identified.
Why did he send you this?
Because he feels it's a developing story and he wants people to be aware that there's really compelling evidence right now, photographically, that needs to be released.
And so you told him you were coming on here, and
I
that's
think
when he
that's the
sent it to you?
photograph.
Yes, and he said that these people need to feel some pressure. They need to know that we are requesting, not demanding, but requesting further government transparency on this issue. And he's very passionate about it. He knows of these photographs. The government's, we got the story, I think it was yesterday, and the government is refusing to release these photographs. The pilots want these photographs released. The people that are involved with the incident want the photographs released. And so he wants the public to know that these photographs exist and that they should be released.
And they're currently in the possession of...
He wouldn't reveal that. He knows the person, but he said that the government is not wanting them released, and he feels that we have a right to these photographs.
And there's video that came with this story as well.
Well, remember, this comes from the very guy who was strategic, Christopher Mellon, in getting those videotaped evidence from the cockpits of those F-18 fighter jets off the East Coast as well as off the West Coast in 2004, 2015, and ended up with that big story on the front page of the New York Times in 2017.
Yeah, see, that's a new thing, because if you went to like 24 or 2004 when this all happened, no one was really talking about UFOs in a serious manner. Like, it was still something that would be mocked and ridiculed. But to have it on the front page of the New York Times, and to have this spokesperson for the Pentagon say that they've recovered off-world vehicles, not from this earth, not made on this earth, like, this is a change, right? A really, I mean, even though it doesn't receive that much public attention because it's all happening during a pandemic, and everyone's just, and also the news cycle today is so bizarre. Something gets into the news cycle and then it's gone tomorrow because of a new scandal, or people find out Ellen's mean, or whatever it is. There's always something new that's coming out. And these things, though, it seems to be there's more of them and more of them coming out. And with each news story that comes out, people feel more emboldened to tell their story.
You know, I think personally everything changed in December of 2017 when that page, a front page of the New York Times, revealed that secret ATIP program. And I know personally, because I've gotten ridiculed for decades for the work I do, a lot less so recently. People are suddenly raising an eyebrow going, wow, there's clearly something more to this than just, radar, weather balloons and misidentified aircraft.
Jamie, pull up the video that's in that article.
So I mean, real quick, the one thing that they do bring up a lot when it comes to the UFO stuff, they say that the government doesn't want you to know, which is a pretty broad term when you kind of think about it, right? Mm-hmm. Specifically, who do you think would be in charge of even going about disclosing that or declassifying that? Because you kind of think that if Trump had access to go in ahead and and declassifying any kind of UFO stuff, he would have done it. Like he's just reckless enough to go ahead and just declassify anything like that, right?
No, I don't think it's in the executive branch.
Yeah. And you've had people that were part of the Senate Intel Committee, like Marco Rubio, or even I'm not sure. I mean, Harry Reid was a Senate Majority Leader for a time.
I mean, I think,
and they've they've all claimed that they want to have some kind of declassification about.
Well, keep this going on. They talk about Harry Reid,
right?
And it sounds like Harry Reid probably is one of the guys who knows a lot.
Yeah, you see, I don't think Trump would have been allowed to do that. What do you and so the thing is, allowed by who? Who are we talking about? That who's the gatekeeper here that is deciding what isn't allowed to be declassified? Because if it's not, I mean, he's supposed to be the head of the executive branch.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that line in the Men in Black movie where it's real brief, where Will Smith asks Tommy Lee Jones, so what branch of the government do we report to? And then Tommy Lee Jones just tells them, none. They ask too many questions.
Yeah.
So,
I think. I mean, here's this video. It might be good.
But let me go back to the Rogan clip. So there we go.
It's an actual YouTube video.
There's two. One's from '94. One's from 2013.
Let's go with the 2013 one. But these videos are very strange. You see this object. What's interesting too is that, okay, this is the one that I didn't see, but that this thing, the way it moves and behaves, the one that's from, I guess it was from the 94 one. This is the 2013 one. This is the one from Puerto Rico. So it's just kind of cruising across the sky. It's hard to track here in this black and white. There it is.
There you go. You see it?
Does it estimate how fast this thing's supposedly going?
You see this thing? It's like a little friggin' dot.
Yeah, no, I think it's the military.
Some sort of like military base or something.
It's, I don't think it's consolidated under one agency. You know, I think
so weird to see. Like,
a bunch of different agencies and military units and stuff have
one of the things
looked
that
into
I think
this
is
stuff.
really good to establish.
Go. I'm sorry, but go
it's
further
not like
ahead
you can
in
just
this video
say
to
to the
see if maybe
generals,
there's a
like, give me
better
the
version of
UFO
it or a
shit.
better.
Sort of.
You know?
The other one has a little clearer video.
Yeah, there you go. That's much
I mean,
clearer.
I think he like
what is?
You have to have a reason to find out about this
that's
stuff,
not a
right?
bird.
Like, they don't just tell you because you're interested.
moving through
like,
the clouds.
One of the things
if he
I
was
wanted to
like
make
going to a
distinction of
meeting with
is the technology,
you
the
know,
observed
somebody about it,
technology
they brief
these guys
him
are
on it.
talking about. So you've got
You know, like-
objects with no wings, no visible means of propulsion, the ability to hover, accelerate from a standstill to out of sight in the blink of an eye, right-angle turns at high speed.
All of that stuff.
Fly rings around our fastest jets. That's
That's
the technology
from-
that
You
cannot
see how
be
it moves?
confused
Look at the
or
way it
explained
moves.
away as something conventional. So anytime you see an object like we're looking at here,
That's what I'm saying.
if it
that stuff
performs
they
or exhibits that
admitted
technology,
that. I
maybe
mean,
it shoots
that's
off at
they
high rate of speed,
declassified
does
those
a right angle
documents,
turn
like
at
those
high speed.
videos. So like,
no wings, no tail, no propulsion.
either way, just
no
what's
sonic
been
boom,
officially
almost no
declassified is
sound.
technology beyond our understanding.
And they're trying to get a
Right.
close up on this thing so you get a better idea of what the shape is. It's very hard to tell. But
That's what I mean, like,
these objects also,
we're
one of the
so
weird things
dismissive
is
of
it
it. We're
moves
like Ryan
around the
Grant,
same
you
way
know?
Commander
Yeah.
Fravor described that thing moving around that was hovering over the ocean. That it kind of darts around left and right and left, almost like it's just not connected to whatever our atmosphere is. It's like it's moving in this weird zigzag sort of a way.
This is an infrared image, right? It's not visible. It's not a normal camera.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. Is that what it looks like
I
to you?
think it's the same type of camera that as the one from the Nimitz. So you're looking at the heat signature. You're not really looking at the visual picture.
Right.
So that's why it's not you cannot get a clear definition of it.
Well, they need better cameras.
Well,
so as you go
yeah,
further
but for-
along in the video, it does. They do get a better view of it. There it is. There you go. Like, what the hell is that?
You know, that was one of the more startling moments of producing the film The Phenomenon for me was when I met with Senator Harry Reid, who spearheaded the ATIP program, the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program that wound up on the front page of the New York Times. I wasn't quite sure when I met with him where his comfort zone was, and so I was really kind of cautious for the first half an hour of the interview. But then we started to relax and get more comfortable with each other, and I decided to kind of push it a little bit, and I said, hey, Senator, I met with Gordon Cooper, who later became Mercury astronaut, who told me on camera that there was a landing incident that took place at Edwards Air Force Base circa 1957, where they happened to have a camera crew out near the dry lake bed capturing the installation of a new landing facility for F-86 fighter jets. And it was broad daylight, and all of a sudden this disc appears out of nowhere, and the camera crew turned their cameras on it, and they filmed the landing of this flying saucer on the dry lake bed at Edwards Air Force Base. And I'm telling this story to Senator Reid, thinking, I don't know how he's going to react but this is what I have him on camera. And I said that he has the film footage developed. It was good footage. He held it up. He looked at it. It was a disc, blah, blah, blah. And eventually he gets a courier jet from Washington, D.C. that flies in, pick up the footage. Senator Reid goes, and it was never seen or heard from again. And I said, yeah, exactly. And I said, did you guys uncover stuff like that? He goes, oh, yeah, it's all there. We have it. It's all there. And then he goes to change the topic and talk about something else. And I said, well, hold on, Senator. Are you saying that there's evidence that hasn't seen the light of day? And he looked at me, and he kind of pauses, and he picks up his water bottle, and he drinks a sip of water, and that moment seemed like an hour, but it was probably just a second or two. And he puts his water bottle down, and he says, I'm saying that most of the evidence hasn't seen the light of day. So that for me was such a powerful moment, because I'm going, look at who this is coming from. This is the former head of, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, saying that the vast majority of evidence hasn't seen the light of day. And if the President of the United States can't get access to it, as I found out when I interviewed all the people around President Clinton, who can? Who has the authority to have this stuff released? And that's something that I would love to know, and I've been trying to find out.
So someone does. Someone in some position of government or some intelligence agency, someone in the Pentagon, someone or some group at the highest level of clearance has access to this information and knows about it.
Absolutely. Senator Reid said they uncovered all this stuff during the program, and he said the level of resistance that he got from the intelligence agencies was insane. They did not want this project going forward at the Pentagon, but they pushed and they pushed and they pushed and they got it through. It started in 2007. It went all the way up until it ended up on the front page of the New York Times in 2017. And of course, now we know that there's another project. But Jacques, do you know who has the authority to release this stuff to the general public?
No, not in this particular case.
Catch new episodes.
Yeah, and that's also my question. Who does?
What?
Who has the authority? Here you go. See.
To do what?
To disclose any of this stuff, to declassify any of who has the knowledge of these things if the president isn't even being briefed theoretically.
Like I think it's spread around. I don't think it's under one department. I don't think there's like a Men in Black. I think that there's, the Navy has documents from their encounters. The FBI, like Project Blue Book, is under one wing. Then there's
even in theory with a supposed Men in Black, that still implies compartmentalization, because they're in charge of collecting and gathering data that they don't want out there in the public, right? The evidence. And that sort of thing. So that still implies there's some kind of compartmentalization.
Yeah, that's your theory, though. The Men in Black.
Well,
I
that's
said
what I'm
I
saying.
don't believe in the Men in Black.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not like they're mutually exclusive. You can have a Men in Black and still have something that's completely compartmentalized, even from whatever else. You know what I mean?
If there's a Men in Black, then it's not compartmentalized.
Of course it can be, because they're only in charge of one aspect of things. It's not like they have a
but
full
it's not-
encompassing knowledge.
You know, there's a Men in Black. They're not like on. It's above classified. It's not like in the normal chain of command for how information is spread around the different agencies.
Well,
right?
it depends on how you're
above top
organized.
secret Q clearance.
Well, no, it depends on how you're class. Okay, so in my mind, you can have Men in Black that are supposed to be like the foot soldiers. They're supposed to be out there, speaking to witnesses, gathering evidence that they don't want out there in the public forum, that kind of shit. But then that doesn't imply that agency is also privy to every aspect of knowledge as far as craft and history, and all of that could still be compartmentalized, even if you have some, group of thugs that just go around fucking with witnesses, right?
What do you mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, if there is a Men in Black, then the stuff that is elsewhere is disinformation, right?
Like as in what?
Like, if there's an agency whose job is to go around, get all the data collected, and keep it out of the public, then
or just retrieve it for whatever next department is in charge of housing or categorizing or whatever else it is.
That would imply that, but then you would infer from that everything is everything that has been released, that has been seen the light of day, is there because
they want it out there,
or it was put out. Exactly.
Right.
So
but again, there's a difference. Like I said, there's a difference between having sightings or witness statements versus actually having tangible evidence. Like if there was raw material out there from an incident, they wouldn't want that out there in the public. But if they just say, "Oh, yeah, Matt Capozzoli had a sighting," but it was just a sighting, there's no tangible evidence to go ahead and back up his claims, then it'd be like, "Oh yeah, just leave him alone." Go let him tell stories. I mean, it's not going to do anything. There's nothing. There's no way to substantiate it. Did he what kind of photographs does he have? I mean, it's something from his iPhone. It's not something that you can, it's not like he took a selfie with a gray or something like that.
Yeah, no, I think that, like I said, if there is something like that, we have no proof of it, nothing at all, and that would mean that every other theory we have is disinformation, right? Because the real shit's not getting out.
Well, that's why I still wouldn't even go that far. I would say there's certain times where they go ahead and intervene, and certain times where they just like, all right, whatever. It's just some idiot with a story out there, and people can take it or leave it. And by and large, it's what they do. If somebody has a UFO sighting story, people take it or leave it.
Yeah, but they would do more to then why would they release anything? Why would they not
do
more
what do we
to
have?
Keep a lid on it?
Well, that's what I'm saying. What do we have? Do we have materials? Do we have actual
supposedly?
I mean, no, but out there in the public that are not under some kind of control.
I mean, so I'm saying that then we do have programs every once in a while, like the ATIP program, and then this new one, the whatever it's called, the
UATFP thing with the
and then there's that's that is another agency, another government directive working on the same stuff, right? So if there was an all-powerful Men in Black org, they would not want that happening. That would be under their jurisdiction, not somebody else's. So then, unless that was all disinformation.
No, well, that's why.
If that's the case, then we don't know anything.
But see, that's why.
If there is a Men in Black, that means that everything we think we know about this shit is nonsense.
Well, see, that's why I don't necessarily think that's true. I think maybe you still have they're one arm of several arms that are all in charge of one thing or another, but it's not one encompassing agency that is just disseminating information that they want out in the public sphere.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Right, but I would still say that that would classify as a sort of Men in Black arm of whatever arm of the government is in charge of that, where okay, they just don't want certain things out there as far as concrete proof, because all of what we see there is still open by and large to speculation. But if you actually see some sort of hard evidence that
we have that
takes
though.
the round, do we?
I would say that the information that was declassified in 2018, the Go Fast, Gimbal, and TikTok, that's definitive proof of something that we don't understand. So,
but
I don't know what else you would need.
It's still largely speculative. It's not like
What do you mean? We can't do that. We can't explain the technology in the video, right? So if I was the Men in Black, I would not let that get declassified unless I wanted it to.
I still think there's a line between video and actually having raw materials, for instance, like I keep saying.
I mean, I don't think we actually have that, though. I think we have that one craft, and I think...
Well, they said there were several, craft. Right? I mean, Lazar said there was at least 5, right?
Yeah, I mean, and then going off of what Harry Reid said, then there's the
majority of evidence is not disclosed. So again, to your point, how much do they actually want out there? Maybe not much. Maybe enough for people to go ahead and talk about it. See, and look, I definitely don't think it lies with the president, right?
No,
and
definitely. I just don't think it's consolidated. I think it's
and that's what I said. I don't think it's consolidated either, and I don't think the existence of an agency or an arm of an agency that is meant to go out there and do certain things, such as gather raw materials, for instance, like I keep coming back to.
Yeah, I just don't think the evidence leads there, because I think, like I said, if that is the case, then we don't know anything, right? And the evidence that's out there is specifically there.
Yeah, I don't think that it's necessarily like that. I think it's just certain things that they would go out there to go and keep from being out there in the public.
Because that's what they used to do. Like in that interview, they go on to talk about it. Like they used to, back in the day, they would send out agents to identify landing sites, stuff on the ground. They would have scorched marks.
But see, and I think an agency like I'm talking about, like a theoretical MIB wouldn't go out there in instances where they needed to prove a case or not. They'd have enough knowledge about that in order to know what they're dealing with. Let's see. What do you say, PK? Let's see. Listen honestly. Watching something and seeing something with your own eyes is two different things. Yeah. You see, or actually having. All right. You find a craft from a UFO. You call something like the car door from a UFO craft, right? And you keep that up in your attic or some shit because it flew off when the thing was flying overhead. I think there's a world of difference between doing that and taking a cell phone video.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're right. I guess if there were artifacts like that, it would be, we don't know about that,
right? Or like I said, maybe you have, I don't know. I think the abduction stuff is a little bit further out there as far as believability. It's entertaining to me, and you can go out and it freaks people out, which is always fun. But I don't know as far as whether it's in practice, and if that's the case, what do they leave behind as far as a tagging system on you? But if that was going on, and people were being tagged and sent out back into the world after being taken up for a little bit, in that instance, then you would actually have more hard evidence. We saw a couple of those videos last time, where you had a nose implant or up the other.
Well, then your buddy Corbell did that whole thing about the he's got a whole documentary about that doctor who removes alien tagging devices, and
right. See,
I haven't seen
this
anything compelling in that realm.
This is exactly it. See, So who's to say that, you know, there's always an open question no matter what you're reading for some people that are going to be like, all right, yeah, but what if it's doctored? What if it's fake in some way? What, you know, what if this is false information? But it's harder to go ahead and fake tangible proof, as in.
But like, I also what I think is that they have these skeptics out there. It's kind of like how they have all those shit libs that run interference for Pelosi.
Right.
Right. Like the skeptics, you know, like Brian Dunning and that other guy, whatever his name, I forget his name.
Yeah. Skeptics annoy me.
Yeah, they drive me nuts. But those guys, they go out there and say, "Oh, this is swamp gas," or whatever they say. You know, like they are constantly going out there and debunking stuff.
And look, let me
just like we see the evidence. Like we've seen evidence for decades now.
Yes,
and it's just between skeptics and our own disbelief.
No. But here's the thing: like the problem with me when it comes to skeptics isn't just like that they're, you know, shitting on our fucking party or anything like that. I mean, that's not the issue I have with them. It's just that they come from a place of just no from the start. They're working backwards from a conclusion. It's just a negative conclusion. You know, it's not a thing about working through the evidence and, you know, there's some things that I just can't explain. You know, and
sound effects from
and admitting it, huh?
What are those sound effects? Do you hear those?
No, I think the MIB's onto you, bro.
Damn.
Well,
yeah, like PK said there, like I think that's what I'm saying, right?
And see, look, now you have a thing like Photoshop that you deal with, right?
Yeah, but I mean, the skeptics usually go through that. They usually write that off first. Right. They can tell if shit's Photoshopped.
Doctored videos.
Yeah, they can tell that, right? They can figure that out. They don't need to like wonder about that.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, if there is, like I said, if there is a layer above what's been released, what we can kind of see around the edges, we don't know about it. And I'm not discounting. I'm not saying it's not there. I'm just saying we don't know enough to say that that's, you know, we don't. I personally don't think the evidence leads in that direction, and I don't think we would know anything about it if that's the case. But I obviously want that to be the case. Like,
well, let me play this. Let's see. Always, conspiracy theories are useful to the conspiracy. Everything is so convoluted. Yeah, and it is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. My theory was that this stuff was purposely released this week to get the chuds to shut up about the election, right? Like, I think. I'm not saying it's not happening. Like I mean, I think
if anything, I think it's more because I don't think this is just unique to chuds that they get interested in it. I mean, obviously, yeah. Look at us.
No, but I think that there's I think Venn diagram of conspiracy theories and people who are saying the election was rigged.
I think this is just
right wingers. It's pretty similar.
I think it's just as likely that it's meant to go ahead and distract from all the fucking pandemic shit that is just getting worse and worse, and they're not passing shit, and the evictions are coming right now after they lift the moratorium. So see, we don't know. MIB could be real. We can't dismiss it. You just have to be really lucky to be run into. Yeah, I don't know if we want to run into them from the descriptions that we've been getting about them, but actually let me play this movie trailer. I want to go and check out this thing too. We probably can't play it on the stream, but this trailer was interesting to me too. But let's see.
Yeah, because then they did the monolith first too.
Weird.
Yeah,
and you're probably
they did that stuff, and then it wasn't getting any traction. So then
you're not dreaming.
They stepped the game up.
Look, watch this thing.
This is happening.
2 months ago, we detected a U.S. military satellite in orbit, a satellite we never set up. And inside, we found an encoded message, one that we've been unable to decrypt. We believe it's from the future.
Yes, well, things are getting very strange at Ayers. Yes, very strange indeed. What is all this? The answer. To them. This recent discovery wasn't our first encounter with interdimensional being. It's wonderful, isn't it? They're watching us through windows in time. They put those blueprints in that satellite with that message to start the next war. They want you to build the weapon. to destroy it, dismantle it. So I'm afraid it has come down to you two.
How do you know it's a weapon?
Because they told me.
Who?
Alex Jacobs.
Yeah.
My colleague and I would like to ask you a few questions.
As weird as you think this is, it's about to get weirder.
What's it called? Alien Code?
Alien Code. Come on, that looks pretty dope.
Yeah, I think that's pretty realistic. Like that meshes pretty well.
Yeah, I'm telling. I really want to see that. I wish we could show that shit on the stream without getting fucking booted. But we can check out the B movie
There's
version.
ways to do that. There's ways to do that, like watch parties where everybody logs into their own thing, right?
I mean, maybe
doing.
we can figure that out. Look, bro, we just barely figured out badges. Let's walk before we can run. Yeah, but
no, I mean, yeah.
There you go. Do a Discord watch party. Well, we did just set up a Discord.
Did you set up our Discord? Hold on, let me put it in the chat in case somebody wants to join.
Yeah, go ahead and lay that out.
If I can find it. I just think, oh, somebody joined. Slagus Home, whatever that is.
Yeah, we could do a Discord watch party and to go ahead and check that thing out. That'd be freaking cool. But yeah, you see, you don't want to run it but yeah, John, you don't want to go ahead and bump into Men in Black by the look of them, bro. It's not like you see Agent J walking up to your door. You see some freaking weirdos with, that might be like grays in skin suits or some shit like that.
Let's see what Reddit thinks. UFOs.
Oh well, shit.
Let's see.
Do you want to stay up on the UFO stuff, or do you want to talk about like the history being made today?
Oh, there's a new one in Gaza. I guess it just happened. Today or last night, December 3rd.
In Gaza?
Yeah, over the pyramids. What the fuck is that? Oh, dog. Oh, fuck!
What?
Whoa.
What?
Go to reddit.com/r/UFOs. Here, I guess I can cross-post it to ours.
Multiple UFOs seen over the pyramids in Giza.
Yeah.
Damn, we fucked up the world so bad they came back. Look at this. Yeah, I don't hear any audio from it, but look at that. Oh shit, that's nuts.
Oi, bloody wanker. Is the sound cut out?
I can't hear anything from it. Let's see. There we go.
What is that?
Look how quick it's moving. Oh my god, what
is that?
Going on? Oh my god. It's coming apart.
What the fuck is that?
No.
Oh. You know what that looks like? That looks like the skydivers now. Well, let me see what they said. People usually can debunk it pretty quickly in the post.
I don't know. I wouldn't say that's skydivers. It's too large.
Well, there's a skydiving formation you do at night with flares. Yeah, it could totally be skydivers, but the way they move at the end is drone-like.
Drone-like. Yeah, I don't know.
At the end is drone-like.
Yeah, you see, and Right. What you're saying is right, John. Like, how? Like, a lot of people would ask, "How do you know the video's not doctored? You can doctor a lot of shit." So it still leaves room to be speculative.
Yeah, these guys. It looks like there's a skydiving festival in Cairo. Never mind.
It still looks dope. All right. Why don't we talk about we've been talking about UFOs for a while. Why don't we talk about the what do you call it, the Senate, I mean the House stuff. Where do you think this is going to end up going, bro? Here we go. History was made today. The House just passed a bill to decriminalize marijuana at the federal level. I mean, Public Citizen tweeted it out, said it's a historic moment, so it must be a historic moment, right?
Yeah, no, I don't think that's gonna go anywhere.
Man, you're just on Buzzkill City today.
Well, you know what's gonna happen, man. The fucking Republicans are demon spawn. Like, I don't know what to do with them if there's no, like, we need a completely different type of Democratic Party to have any way to confront those guys, because the Democratic Party we have now are just controlled opposition. Even if they're not, that's the way they function, right?
Yes.
They don't have there's nothing that they do aggressively, right? There's nothing that they have anywhere near the same level of tactical, whatever you would say, skill sets or like strategy wise, that's anywhere near on par with the Republicans. And like, I don't get the Republicans. Like, I can't. Like,
the vote there was what got me. You know, if there was any hope for this thing to go ahead and get through the Senate right away, that vote wouldn't have been, wouldn't have gone the way it came down, with 158 Republicans against and 5 for it. You know, there would have been at least a little bit more of a split among Republicans.
What do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, look, if there's not a bipartisan consensus, even on something that in Congress there's not, among the voters there is.
I mean, there's just 5.
You're right, 5 people. How many Republicans from the Senate do you think are going to go ahead and vote along with this bill?
Well, they're not going to put it up to a vote. That's what I'm saying. Mitch McConnell is in charge of this.
Yes.
Right? So if he doesn't put it up for a vote,
it's
there's
never going to
nothing
come
you
to
can
pass.
do
And then
about
on top
it.
of that, will Trump sign it?
I mean, if it got through the Senate, sure.
You think he'd sign it? I don't think he'd sign it. I think he'd veto it.
I mean, like I said, it's not going to be in that situation because you'd first have to get it through Mitch McConnell.
Right.
And since he's not going to do it, like, I think that if he put it to a vote, meaning the Republican Party was on board with it, then I think Trump would sign it. It would have to get.
I don't know, man. I don't think they would. I don't think Trump would.
You mean the argument about it, like the fight, would happen before it got to Trump's desk.
Okay.
Right? Like the Republican Party's, come to Jesus moment or whatever you want to call it.
No,
like,
they would have to try to do. They would have to try to override a veto. I'd go out on a limb and say that. But let me just read this. So the Democratic controlled.
Did you see who they were? They were my homeboy Connor Lamb.
Well, let me read this thing. So the Jerry Nadler sponsored this measure that would remove marijuana from the federal list of controlled substances and expunge some of marijuana-related criminal records. It would still be set up to states to pass their own regulations on the sale of marijuana, which I think is smart. I think that's a pretty good way to go about it. The states are passing their own measures anyway, so that's fine. So Nadler said in a statement that the legislation would help address the mistake of marijuana criminalization and its radically disparate enforcement. The long overdue legislation would reverse the failed policy of criminalizing marijuana on the federal level and would take steps to address the heavy toll this policy has taken across the country, particularly in communities of color.
Yeah, that's why the Republicans don't want to.
Yeah, so
that's
Nadler,
what Matt Gaetz said. If you saw his speech, he gave a speech today, and he was basically said as much. Like, I don't want to expunge all these black people's records, but
so
they
Let's see. Nadler has highlighted provisions in the MORE Act that fund community programs to benefit people previously convicted of marijuana-related offenses. So he told USA Today in September the provisions were about making people whole from harm suffered directly as a result of the marijuana ban, which he said disproportionately affected racial minorities. Matt Gaetz, there he is, the new Jared Kushner, one of a handful of Republicans to vote for the legislation, and the only Republican co-sponsor of the legislation, said on the floor of the House that the bill was necessary because current federal prohibitions on marijuana constrains the states. Good, there you go. That's a solid, consistent ideological argument for it.
What?
Yeah, he's saying that it constrains the states. It's
dude, the whole states' rights concept is.
Come on, bro.
It's not a real thing though. They only use that when they want to buttress their reactionary take. They don't ever that's not like a value that they're trying to uphold across the government. That's
what are you talking about, bro? That's a long-standing tradition of states' rights going back to Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah, no, it is, but it's only deployed when convenient. Like
bro,
I said,
don't you know why the Civil War was fought?
It's the Republicans' country, and we're just living in it, man. They run everything, and there's no.
Yeah, by the way, don't cancel me. I
that.
really don't think that the Civil War is fought over states.
This is what I'm saying. It's there's no. I'm beginning to get. I don't know if you would call it what's past black pilled? Is there clear pilled or something?
I don't know.
I'm at the point now where it's just
maybe that by that point it's a suppository situation.
Well, that just drives me nuts about the Democrats. It's if they are not controlled opposition, if they're not doing this because they don't care or because they want the same agenda, then we should be in charge just because we are the only ones who are able to fucking counter them. The left are the only people in elected office who have any kind of coherent strategy to combat the disinformation and the way they get the narrative that dominate everything.
Right.
You can't have that's why we've been following AOC's tweets with Ted Cruz and all that.
Right.
She's the only one that stands up to these assholes in any kind of coherent
actually, I have some stuff
that could build a consensus
a little bit later right now. But let me read this. So, if we're measuring the success of the war on drugs, it would be hard to conclude anything other than the fact that the drugs have won because Americans no longer supported harsh laws on drugs.
We never did.
Advocates see the vote as part of a move towards justice. With this vote, Congress is recognizing the disproportionate impact of enforcement has had on our communities, and calling for the unjust status quo to be disrupted. Maritza Perez, we talked about her before. Let's see, an ACLU report analyzing marijuana-related arrests from 2010 to 2018 found that black people were 3.64 times more likely than white people to be arrested for marijuana possession. Yeah, the likely passage comes as more states have legalized marijuana and public opinions on the topic has shifted. I mean, I guess after all the fucking manufacturer consent that went into this shit in the to begin with kind of dissipated.
No, it's definitely the country is on board with it. This is what I'm saying about the Republicans. It's they have such an iron grip on the levers of power, and there's no coherent alternate opposition party.
There we go. So this is what you think you're talking about, Aaron, when we were talking about primarying the Democrats. So Connor Lamb, a moderate Democrat who faced a close re-election race this year, voiced similar concern on Tuesday as Congress remains deadlocked over a stimulus bill. He wrote on Twitter that while marijuana decriminalization was important, House Democrats should focus on nothing else besides COVID-19 relief, which I guess is his excuse for voting against it.
What an asshole, man. No, I think he's his job is to manufacture consent for the idea of a right-wing Democrat, right? He exists to be the platonic ideal of a conservative conservative Democrat. So every take he has is just in line with the Republicans, but he tries to put a spin on it that it's not just because he's reactionary. It's always I would support these policies, but my district's not into it. Like he was the guy who was like, oh, we can't ban subsidies. We have to, my district, like they won't like it. Even though polls show like 75% of Pennsylvania wants to, do a Green New Deal, ban fracking, all that shit. Nobody wants fracking in their neighborhood. That's completely made up, right? To the extent that that belief is out there, it's out there because people have manufactured it, right? Like they've made it seem like people support fracking when no poll shows that. Nobody wants that. People only vote that way, if they do vote that way, because they're imagining a fictitious version of the country that they think agrees with that. It's just, it's the American people our wants and needs are not represented or reflected by the people in power whatsoever. Like to the extent that anybody agrees with the Republicans or the Democrats for that matter, it's based on lies, right? It's like this whole elaborate system. It's like when you talk to somebody, like you could talk to somebody like say the mechanic, right? And he's wearing a MAGA hat and you start talking and you like could get him to agree on probably most of like a social democratic platform without understanding that's what he was doing, right? You could get him to say,
accidentally
like,
left
the health
wing
insurance
again, right?
companies are fucking us and marijuana should be legal and too many black people are arrested. And you could get him, cops kill too many people. You could get them to agree to all that stuff. But then if, the Democrats agreed with it, he would be against it because of his like self-identification
as a partisan.
Exactly. So the whole thing is so toxic, and it's like we're not going to be able to change it with just having a few, AOCs out there who are giving you an alternative opinion. It really has to be this two sides who present clear ideological differences, paths forward for the country. It's like it's not going to work where you have the Democrats, the mainstream Democrats, saying basically the same thing as the Republicans, but like slightly more sympathetic or like woke version of the same policies, and then having the left kind of kicking around, being portrayed as like outsider extremists by everyone, right? Like,
so this whole country is built on lies. Everything about this country is a lie. What are you talking about, bro? It's built on the American dream. You know what I'm talking about? Come on, where's your patriotism?
No, I mean, I don't know. I think the country used to be, I think it used to better reflect the views of the, like it used to be like before World War II, like before when we still had land to expand out to, there was this idea that like you can go on your own and make your own, I feel like that whole the self-made man. I feel like that stuff used to be.
I feel a little bit better about all of that stuff if it wasn't for all the fucking Jim Crow and slavery and racism.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean that's like probably like that's probably like the biggest detriment to that time.
Like even outside of that, right?
Yeah, outside of that.
It was the same way back then. Nobody supported slavery. Slavery was supported by the landowners. It's just like now, right? It's just like now with the way, like, say, private healthcare, right? Was supported by the rich people who are the ones who want it in place. And then it's like the other people who are convinced that it's bad for them somehow, like that universal health care would be bad for them somehow.
I saw this one movie that went into that pretty. It was pretty interesting to think about it like this. It's called Free State of Jones.
Oh yeah, I heard people talk about that.
Yeah,
but then like the middle class people back then were agreed with it because they thought that was the right thing to do because the ruling class told them it was.
Well, they did
and
what
then
they
the working
do now.
class people were against it. So I'm saying the working class people were against freeing the slaves because they didn't want the extra competition.
No, it wasn't.
In the labor market,
it wasn't. It was that, but it wasn't so much about the work. But the aristocrats of the South, played up the race stuff like they do now. They play up race and culture war stuff in order to sow division. So, in the movie, it was pretty cool because they flash back to the past. and they show a present time where one of that descendant that went ahead and freed that one little county in Mississippi, his descendant, it was speculated that he was part black, and in that state at that time, you couldn't have intermarriage. So
one drop.
Yeah. So they juxtaposed that court case with the past incidents, but the part that really stood out to me was, and I looked up that this was true, that the people of the Confederacy that were fighting, if you owned a certain number of slaves, you were exempt from service.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that tells you who did they want going ahead and fighting this war.
It's the same as now.
Yeah. It was a thing, and then that's why this dude was able to go ahead and rally people around, because he said, why are we fighting a rich man's war?
Indeed. It's the same as now. Like, the ruling class does that, right? They convince people that what's good for the ruling class is actually good for them too, right? Taxes are bad. You might one day be rich and not want to pay taxes, right?
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's
his
what
civil rights are bad.
There was I forgot who said this, but this isn't mine. But the problem with Americans is that we all think of ourselves as temporarily embarrassed millionaires.
I think that used to be the case. Like I said, I think up until a certain point, that was still the case. Like up until like the 70s, like the boomer generation, I think they did think of that. That concept was a lot more prevalent. People did
temporarily
think
embarrassed millionaire.
Yeah, or just temporarily embarrassed, rich people, whatever that entails. But I don't think that idea, like, I don't know people who think that way, especially not people our age, right?
Well, now, no.
Exactly. So I think back then that used to be a real case. I think the American idea, like the concepts that people tell ourselves about America, I think those ideas used to be more prevalent and used to be more realistic and applicable. I don't think they are whatsoever anymore, because the way the country has gone, the way they've dominated the economy in the past decade, the past few decades, has just made it completely, the whole idea of a meritocracy is just not existent anymore. Right. You can't, the people at the top just have such a stranglehold on it. And like, they have this zero-sum game, right? That's what their whole thing is, that it's finite amount of resources. I need to get this money, so, you don't get it, because if you get it, then I can't have it. Like, that's all like hoarding resources. That's the whole, like, fiat currency idea, that like your money is controlled by the gold standard and all that. Like, that is not applicable anymore, but yet we still have people operating on that mindset. And then there's no clear path forward, because the people in Congress, it's just the one ideology, the one worldview, and then like the controlled opposition to it, basically. It's like, even if they're not intentionally controlled opposition, they function as controlled opposition. There's no way to build mass consensus. There's no way to like build the groundswell of public support to change things without a truly oppositional worldview, oppositional party put forward.
Right.
So like, it's grim, man. Like, and it's so bad now too, is because the relief package that they're not passing, is good for the economy. Like, it's good for the rich people. Like, doing a stimulus, that's what all the economists say. Nobody says not to do that. The only reason they're not is because it's the people at the very top who control these parties. They benefit from everybody else being broke. Like, they benefit from everybody else losing their shirt, right, and selling their shit for cheap. Yeah. So, like, I don't know how they change it, right? I don't know how you get the Republicans to agree to do what needs to be done when they're not operating on a logical framework, right? They're not operating based on, what's good for anybody. It's really hard to. It's like they're doing all this to protect the wealth of like a few hundred people tops, so that a few hundred people can get richer, Like, even the regular millionaires, like the jet ski dealership owners, right? Those people are hurting from this, right? Like the small landowners, like the landlords, right? Like they're all hurting from this, not having government stimulus for this. They're going to continue to keep hurting from it until they have some sort of closure on this virus, right? And even after that, like even say everybody got vaccinated tomorrow, they would still be like, people haven't been paying rent in months, right? Like a third of the country is behind on their mortgage and rent payments. So like the landlords are waiting for that money too. Like I said, it's just the very, very, very rich who are benefiting from everybody else being broke. And like, if you're not coming out and saying that and presenting a clear vision to the people, because that's not what Joe Biden's doing, right?
Right.
He's still saying that, like, oh, the Republicans are going to work with me and we're going to be able to come together and pass a stimulus that we need. And, we got to pass this, this small one now because, got to get the ball rolling or whatever he said. I don't know, maybe we can go to him talking about it today. But like
let's see. Well, I wanted to go to see. They had a AOC released a tweet after they passed this thing. So, see, 68% of Americans.
Still talking about weed?
Well, I wanted to go back to this because you take us up on the tangent, bro. But yeah, 68% of Americans support marijuana legalization this year. South Dakota, Arizona, Montana, New Jersey, and 11 other states in legalizing it. Yet, the federal government still classifies pot as a dangerous drug. The Senate must listen to the American people and vote on this bill. So, I mean, she's trying to go ahead and apply pressure to them, but I don't know how well that's going to end up working. But what I said is curious if once it's legalized federally, if someone will get her to smoke out on Twitch stream.
I don't know if she smokes.
I don't know if she smokes either. I mean, they'll probably think that's uncouth for a congresswoman. No, that's beyond the pale. There's no decency in that.
Like I said, like it's that law too is the other thing is like legalizing it federally like that. It helps people clear their record, right? That's one thing it does, which is great, which is the part of it that the Republicans don't like, right? Like Matt Gaetz, like that's what he says every time he speaks about it. He's basically says like, look, man, like I don't want to do anything, to help like poor people or black and brown people, but like, we need to do this because, like white people might want to smoke is basically like what his message is. And really who this helps the way the law is structured, or maybe that's why they're not supporting it. I have to look into the details, but like, I think they're part of it. I think Nadler's bill is kind of like Bernie's in that it earmarks money towards, certain groups or areas that were, suffered under the drug war. So I think that might be what Gaetz is talking about specifically. But like this is going to help the people who are rich already, right? The people who already own a stake in the industry somewhere, right? Like that's so that they can legitimize that money because they can't put it in banks, right? Like even if in Illinois, people who run the dispensaries here, they can't take their drug money and put it in the bank. They have to have all these like weird, like bonds and like outside alternate banking systems. So like, another example of the Republicans doing what's bad for both rich people and regular people alike. It's truly bizarre that they're representing this fictitious coalition that they've built out of nothing and are strawman, like whatever that's called. Not strawmanning, but pretending exists, right? It's not even like most rich people would benefit from weed being legalized, right? Like nobody, the people who suffer from it would be like the prison industrial complex, right? Like that's who lobbies every year. We see them, like the prison guards union and other groups that are involved with, the carceral state. Those are the ones who spend big to defeat measures like this. And Mitch McConnell is the #1 recipient of
prison money.
Exactly. So, shocker. Like, he's truly an evil bastard. Like, the longer this goes on, like the more it's like you become clear that like he's really the impediment, because I don't like, yeah, the Republicans are all pretty evil, but I don't know. It's hard to imagine like.
See, I get annoyed by rich. I get annoyed by the
support.
rich people.
Of course, man. They're the problem, right? Like, they're doing this because they think that it's a finite amount of resources that they have to have, right? It's like, their selfishness is based from a place of ignorance, right? It's just that they're old, and old people don't like change.
Right, and that brings me to the next tweet I was gonna bring up. Or it was a couple of them, but here we go. So these Republicans who are defensively rage tweeting, but you're wrong. I worked my way and paid through college. I don't realize they sound like folks who speak of the days of when Hershey bars were 5 cents at the general store. College costs have exploded over the last 10 to 20 years, and wages have not kept up. It's a totally different landscape, and the fact that they're using anecdotal experience from 20 plus years ago to reinforce their opinions instead of looking at the current cost wage data is disturbing. Frankly, they've exploded for far longer than that too.
Yeah,
you know, and that's
what I'm saying.
another...
Didn't we talk about it before though? Like, you see studies where they would compare college tuition to minimum wage throughout the times, and then ever since the late 80s, it's not kept up whatsoever. Like, even in the late 80s, you go to state school and work minimum wage at McDonald's and afford your tuition, right? You could pay your tuition every week. It wasn't until after that it got to the point where it's so excessively out of whack.
Yes.
You can't keep up whatsoever. Like, trying to work a minimum wage job and pay for school is, not only is it impossible, like, it's impossible to even, I think, like, I've seen the numbers where it's like, even if you keep getting a raise, you still can't pay it off in your lifetime, right?
No,
like, you need to be guaranteed a certain amount. Like, you need to basically like win the lottery or something to pay it off, right? Yep. Just the way that the interest multiplies like that.
Bro, why
like,
would you want the purge
I heard a stat where 80% of student loans, it's estimated now that 80% of the people who take out loans now they'll be defaulted on. Yeah. And that's with the fact that they can't be discharged in bankruptcy. So even with that, it basically means people will die or flee the country or whatever before paying that off.
But yeah, I mean, no, why would you want the purge to be real? Did you pay attention in the movie? The whole point of the purge was to have rich people throw us into this fucking disproportionate ring and then murder average working people.
It's like DeSantis ones for Florida, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
The laws that like the anti-protest laws he set there, it basically gives everybody license to go do Kyle Rittenhouse wherever they want.
Yeah.
Right? You can just go shoot people and say that they were looting and get away with it. You could run people over. Like, that's what the purge, I feel like,
the purge is not
rich people hunting us for sport.
Yes, exactly. That's what the purge was. What's wrong with you?
Yeah. The people who survive are the people. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd like to parody the fuck out of, Mitch McConnell in Minecraft, and I'd like to parody Minecraft him in his big fucking face. Like he should be locked up. Like, I don't know. Like, if there was any integrity in anyone in this country, they would get rid of him. And like, I don't know how to do it, but like I said, the Democrats are controlled opposition. Yeah, in Minecraft, exactly, PJ. Well, as I'm saying, we don't need their money. The thing is, it's like, this is what drives me so nuts about it. Is like the way the monetary system works is it's like, they could keep getting all of their tax breaks. They could keep getting all of that stuff, and you could pay people a decent wage too. Like, you could pay people, like, you could have college not be so expensive. Like, it doesn't have to be one or the other, right? Like, they can have all of their shit, and people can have a decent quality of life. That's like, they're not mutually exclusive, and like, that's the problem that drives me so nuts, is that they can't see that, right? Like. So I'm saying all the economists, not just the lefty economists, they're all saying the same thing. Like, money needs to be put into the economy. It won't affect you, right?
Like that. All right.
What?
No, I was flicking with my lights.
Did I send you something about it too?
Well, let me. I had sent you that AOC Forbes article. I wanted to go over with you. Just since we can get that out the way. There we go. AOC for president? Women lead 2024 election odds as bettors favor AOC over Harris, Biden, and Trump. How's that? From Forbes.
I don't think
You see, that's what gamblers are saying. The gamblers are betting hard on AOC right now to go ahead and win in 2024. So naturally, the odds for the next election cycle almost always favor the opponent. In this case, Joe Biden, or their current vice president, shared Dave Mason of bettingonline.ag. But while the 2024 election odds list Kamala Harris as the most probable option, AOC is getting the most love from early bettors. AOC, the representative from New York's 14th district, might not see her name on any ballot this November, but sports bettors have appointed her as the early presidential front runner in 2024.
This is from before the election?
Is it? No, this is from the 3rd? Yeah, this is from the 3rd.
December 3rd?
November 3rd.
So yeah, before the election.
Yeah, but see, look at betting odds don't
you
always
still
paint.
valid though?
Yeah.
I mean,
come on,
after Biden won though,
but they're
then I would
betting
assume
out
Biden would be the
out
favorite.
from 4 years ago, from 4 years in advance.
I know, but that was before Biden was in office. Like, wouldn't Biden? I bet you Biden or Kamala would be the front runner now.
But they're already placing bets 4 years in advance off of the betting odds that had Biden set to beat Trump anyway. Remember, going into the election night, they still had Biden winning. So even with that in mind, the bets were coming down in AOC's favor.
I mean, they're reporting on the action, though. They're reporting on where the people think is going to happen.
Right.
So I think that people thought AOC beforehand because of all the stuff we've been talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's what needs to be done, right? Like, it's black and white, and they're not doing it on purpose, right?
But let me finish reading this. So, betting odds don't always paint the most accurate portrait of the true chances, given that LeBron James is listed at 150 to 1 to win the Oval Office. Yet, it does speak volumes about the overall confidence that Biden would be able to compete in 4 years should he win this week's election. We listed Kamala Harris as a favorite simply because it's difficult to fathom an 82-year-old on the campaign trail. So, there you go. So, let me see what else I said. AOC might be seeing the most action, but the name Trump remains popular amongst bettors. Donald Trump Jr. is getting the second most attention, and Ivanka falling into the 4th slot. Oprah Winfrey sits awkwardly between the two in 3rd.
Rogan.
So, most popular bets for 2024 president. There you go. AOC, Donald Trump Jr., Oprah, Ivanka, and Joe Rogan.
Here's what'll happen. If she looks like she's going to, run away with it.
Yeah.
Somehow. I don't know how you would determine that, but they would do something like they would get like Michelle Obama to enter the race.
Oh, they would not do that. But well, let's see. Look, Kamala 3 to 1.
For whatever reason, I mean,
Bernie 12 to 1.
It's going to be Kamala.
Yeah, she's 25 to 1 odds right now. I guess that's why they're taking that bet, because I mean, look, if it's 25 to 1 and she actually is able to pull that off, that's a pretty decent payout. Not gonna lie.
Wait, what was AOC's odds?
AOC is getting 25 to 1 odds.
How much did you put down on her? Don't lie.
Why would you say that? I would no, bro. Come on, I didn't put anything down.
Let's just say
AOC.
Tony's a tier 2 subscriber.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Well, look who else is on here. Jon Stewart at 66 to 1. We had Dwayne The Rock Johnson at 50 to 1.
Wait, what was Klobuchar's odds?
Let's see. Amy Klobuchar's 33 to 1.
Fucking Josh Hawley, that little punk.
Candace Owens at 100 to 1.
Candace Owens.
Oh, dude.
Kanye?
Elon Musk. Yeah, Kanye is up here too. Kanye is at 50 to 1.
Ben Shapiro.
Ben Shapiro. How come Ben Shapiro's on here and then fucking somebody like Kyle Kalinski's not on this shit? That's so fucking stupid.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle would be good. I think of these people could win.
Yeah.
Chelsea Clinton. Who's
Chelsea
George P. Bush?
I have no idea.
Lindsey Graham. Nancy Pelosi.
Nancy
Yo,
Pelosi.
dude.
Kayleigh McEnany's on here too. Dana White. Joe
Kayleigh's
Rogan.
good. Kayleigh
John
could be a star.
Cena and Mitch McConnell. 500 to 1.
Dana White. I'm voting for Dana White. Tommy Tuberville.
No,
That's that moron who said World War II was about socialism.
Oh god.
I think I think what I've always thought, man. Like they would win if they got past the primary. Like the Democrats can focus. Like
whether it would
they
be
can
Bernie,
figure out how to take it away in the primary.
Yeah, whether it was be Bernie or AOC, if the primary is always the real battle. If they get through the primary and they get into the general,
would have changed.
It's a
everything.
dunk.
Like,
it's over. It's a swish. Pack it up. Go
like,
home.
All of that shit I've been talking about. Like that's the problem. Like all of the problems. Just having someone like Bernie, just like not even like what he would do, just the narrative that he would put out there, right? Like the worldview that he would paint for people, and the contours of like how the policy debate shifted. That alone would be just a sea change, right? Just you can't get any change done when there's no opposing view, right? Nancy Pelosi is not saying, like, she's basically saying, oh, we need to spend a little bit more money here and there. She's not explaining, like, that we're slaves to capital and none of this stuff is for the best interest of any constituency. Like, that needs to be described to people in such a way that they understand that we're truly just being fucking bitch slapped by the ruling class.
Well, you sent me that press conference that she had today where she went off on the reporter?
Oh my God, you didn't see this?
No, but
she didn't go off on the reporter. It just, this was, like, this talking point was, I think I tweeted it twice. No, her appearance today, it's like she's trying to be as unpalatable to as large a swath of the country as possible. It's like my girl Nancy is deciding, like, with her focus group beforehand, which lines to put into the speech to make her most toxic to as large a cross-section of the country as possible. Like, if I add this line, I'll be looked at as partisan by the Republicans. Then if I say this, the left will look at me like this. And then if I say something too left, then the liberals will hate me for it. Like, it's just all of these factors. And then she says it just, it's like incoherent the way it comes out, right? Because not that I think that she's lost it. I don't think she's like Biden. I think Biden has dementia. I don't think Nancy has dementia. I just think that she's...
What, she's
like,
drunk?
No, I think she's going out there to do a bad job on purpose. Like, I really do. Like, I can't explain it. I think, like, Nancy's controlled opposition. I don't think all the Democrats are, but I think she is. Like, I think she's purposely trying to lose. Like, there's no other explanation.
Okay, well, let me play the press conference out so
these
we can check out what you're talking about.
All that stuff they say about AOC, that like AOC turns off voters and like AOC is bad for the party. The data shows the exact opposite, right? That Nancy's the one that they hate. All of these hit ads, like all of these ads that were targeting people that lost, right? They weren't AOC ads. It was saying Connor Lamb voted with Nancy Pelosi 95% of the time. You know, it was always about Pelosi. They weren't about AOC because the people on the consultants on the right know that, like, she's a, you know, like a high risk, high reward kind of a target, right? You have to, like, if you go after her, you end up making her look good to a certain segment of the target audience, right? But Pelosi, they all hate just as much, and you know, she's a much easier target to attack and much more powerful role in the party. Pelosi is the reason the Democrats lose. Like, she is. Like, there's no good reason to keep her in charge like that. What you doing? Adding some plague doctors?
Yeah, I gotta.
You should put AOC on there. You should put one AOC and one plague doctor. Or AOC in a plague mask?
Yeah, I just never I never set up the solo page completely, so let me go ahead and play the Pelosi thing out. Let me see.
Okay, but what shifted in your opinion when the Problem Solvers Caucus had a much larger bill a few months ago. You did not like that piece of legislation. What has shifted now when they're on board with this piece that's come out of the Senate?
Perhaps you missed what I said earlier. Joe Biden committed to ending and crushing the virus and having a Build a Better America initiative, Build Back Better, a vaccine,
Build Back Better,
answer to our prayers, an answer to our prayers of 95% effectiveness in terms of Pfizer and Moderna, and there may be others coming forward. That is a total game changer. A new president and a vaccine. So there's nothing to, these are different. What was then before was not more of this. This has simplicity. It's what we've had in our bills. It's for a shorter period of time, but that's okay now because we have a new president. A president who recognizes that we need to depend on science to stop the virus, a president who understands that America's working families need to have money in their pockets in a way that takes them into the future without any of the contraptions of any of the other bills that the administration was associating.
Okay, just a real quick on that. To me, it sounds like she's saying that she, like, she played politics in order to help Biden win. Like, she's just full out saying it. That's what it sounded like to me.
Better finish.
What? No audio again? Huh. Hold on.
Oh, no.
What the hell? It's been doing that lately.
Okay. But what
Play it again, because they gotta hear it.
What part? I wonder when it cut out. All right, let me play it through again.
A few months ago, you did not like that piece of legislation. What has shifted now when they're on board with this piece that's come out of the Senate?
Perhaps
Yeah, I don't know why the vid keeps dropping out on it.
Joe Biden
Look.
to ending and crushing
You see, look,
the
she,
virus
like, they ask her about that, and she comes back to Joe Biden.
Doesn't make any sense.
No.
Like, no, she's saying. To me, she's just saying, like.
Answer to our prayers of 95%.
I mean, I guess she's saying what you said. Like, I didn't really think about that.
Yeah, and not so many words. That's what she's saying.
Coming forward. That makes. That is a.
She's just basically sounds like Trump, right? It's gonna be fine, folks. We have a vaccine. We have the very best people on it. We're gonna be great.
But no, but what she's saying is now we have a president that's committed to the virus, to controlling the virus and all this. Like, so what the fuck was all this shit about a stimulus bill and what was the priority not passing a stimulus bill so that way you can ensure you had a president that you wanted?
Recognizes that we need to depend on science to stop the virus. A president who
it sounds like she's happy he won, right? But she's delusional. Like, I don't think she's just, this is spinning it. She's saying, I didn't want to win. I was trying to lose. You know? Like,
we feel very
don't worry. Like, we're going to be fine. Like,
excited about the prospect that there's a bipartisan bill, because I told members I'm not bringing any more bills that are not bipartisan.
Oh, Jesus, man. That's so stupid.
Show what needs to be done in the interest of negotiation.
It's the Republicans' bill. It's like
it's not everything we want.
Okay.
No mention of the liability shields either, right? Which is like when they asked Bernie about it, you know, like he was basically like, I'm no, like there's a whole that bill is nothing. They can't support that, right? Bernie said he wasn't going to support it.
No,
like there's no money for people, and and it has the liability shield, so it's like the worst of both bills. Like there's more money spent on PPP loans in this version of it, so like you'll keep people supposedly will keep people employed, but it's like that half-ass employment. Like that's one of the big problems right now is not so much the people who are out of work, because that does suck, right? It's the people who are in work and their hours are cut and they're not making enough with their lowered hours, because then the
what did you think
company they work for is getting reimbursed for that money, and then they're not giving the hours, and most of them like they lose their health care when they drop below a certain number of hours, right? So it's like the worst possible outcome.
What did you catch when Katie Porter was on with Como?
Which Cuomo?
What's his Chris Como, right? Fredo.
Fredo. Are we done with Nancy? Is this stream?
Well, no, it's because the whole thing was like she had a different proposal that I thought made a lot of sense, and I think Pramila
but that's what I'm saying is nobody else, none of that matters. It's only like you have to do what her and Mitch McConnell want to do, right? That's the only way.
Right, and that's what I'm getting at is like regardless of all these good ideas you have from certain Congress people, you have these two roadblocks in the way of Pelosi and McConnell that are out here playing partisan games, and
like I'm saying, I don't think it's partisan.
everything.
I think they're on the same team. I think this is what they want to happen.
I don't know, because I mean the way she's playing it out is like, I wanted Biden in is basically what it is, and I'm not gonna go ahead and pass any kind of and the whole idea of I'm not gonna pass anything or I'm not gonna bring it into the floor that's not bipartisan, which is stupid. It's a stupid way to operate.
Nothing gets passed like.
Whatever gets
he
passed,
won't let anything go to a vote, though. That's the problem, right?
Yeah,
so
of course he's not going to let anything go to a
force a vote for it. So it doesn't matter if she passes a bill.
But if
Senate won't touch it.
That's the case for anything that they pass through. That that you always run the risk of McConnell just saying "fuck it," I'm not going to bring it up.
Yeah, I mean,
but think about it when
what's different now, though. I don't understand. Like you still need to get the majority leader to put it forward for a vote, right?
No, but it's okay. So without that? So think about it when they kept trying to repeal Obamacare when Obama was in office. I mean, there wasn't bipartisan support. They didn't give a shit that it was going to get vetoed or if it was going to get blocked in by the House for the time that the Democrats controlled the House. They just kept passing it.
Yeah, that's what they should do.
Yes, and and Democrats want to go out
on the same team. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like her and Mitch McConnell are on the same team. Like she won't put a bill through unless he's also on board with the bill.
Yeah. So
what she's saying there.
So I mean, what are they like? And that brings it up to what I always think is, fuck it, bring up Medicare for all, bring up a Green New Deal, pass that shit with the Democratic majority. Just keep throwing out all these things out to them.
That's what I'm saying. You can't make any kind of like. That's why the whole thing is so shitty. You can't make any kind of like. You can't build any kind of consensus with the American people.
And then
setup is like that.
They just passed the marijuana decriminalization. I mean, fucking throw anything out. Put and what you had said before with the stimulus packages too, when that was up in the air. Was keep putting on McConnell.
Yeah, no, that's what they should be doing. They should be passing a new bill every day with more and more money in it, and say like, we're not going to stop raising the state. We're not going to stop adding money to it until you bring it to a vote. And then if the people bring it to a vote and defeat it, then it looks good for the Republicans. But I guess it's It doesn't matter what the people want. It doesn't matter what makes the most sense. It doesn't matter any of this shit. And you have these two old psychos in charge, just running the country into the ground. Now we got three old psychos. We got Joe Biden too. So we got those three.
We always had three old psychos. If you think
they're like monarchs, man. It's completely the ball is completely in their court. Nothing can go to a vote unless they say so, right?
Right.
Is there loopholes? Is there a way around that?
No.
Because that really seems like an oversight, right? Like setting up the parliamentary rules with those two obvious, what's it called? Not branch points. What's it called when you, not roadblock, whatever, roadblocks up there.
Right.
I don't know why there's no way around that. I mean, I'm sure there is. I guess you have to impeach the Speaker of the House.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be something you could do?
I'm not.
Let's see. How to impeach Speaker of the House.
Do you want to talk about Bitcoin for a second?
At the federal level, the impeachment process is 3-step. First, the Congress investigates. So you still.
Wouldn't it be the same procedure as just removing a member of Congress for whatever?
Yeah, but they still they would block the investigation, right? Isn't that, you couldn't call the investigation? You'd have to have her approval to investigate herself. This typically begins in the House Judiciary Committee, and then the House of Representatives must pass by a simple majority articles of impeachment, and the Senate has to try the accused. But it doesn't say. Yeah, I think that's a huge oversight. I really feel like I don't ever hear anybody talking about that, but should be a bigger deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those two people have all the power in the country, and I don't know how you subvert it. I mean, they probably have the donors, the oligarchs' approval, right? So
what is this thing that's? My bad. This thing, Gago P. Wait, Georgia GOP says, Biden won.
Don't. You said that?
That's what's trending right now because I think because Kanye, David Perdue also came out and said Biden won.
Kanye did?
No, Kellyanne Conway.
Oh.
My bad. Yeah. Let's see. So what did you send me?
Resolution adopted by the House of Committee, which resolution impeaching a particular individual is typically referred to the House Committee on the Judiciary.
So you're sure that the Pelosi would have to approve an investigation of herself?
Let me see. It's on Quora. Maybe they have some. No, the Speaker cannot be impeached. Well, this guy says yes. A no confidence vote from their own caucus will do it. They can also be forced out in a conference with no vote. This has happened with Newt Gingrich. This removes them the Speaker position, not their seat in Congress. And in a given general election, majority control can shift. Yeah. And speakers have faced insurrections. Yeah, I guess there would have to be more agitation from the party itself. And I guess they could always step down. The current speaker is a shrewd tactician and excellent parliamentarian. Her skill, however, is that she can herd her. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, though. It's not that nobody can do anything without her approval. So it's not like she's hurting them. It's that she's the monarch, right? Like no bill comes into Congress that's not from her office, right? Like every bill that comes before Congress is, even if somebody else, like even if it's somebody else's bill, like if they were going to vote on Medicare for all by chance, like she'd probably have her staff write their own version of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like that's God.
All right, let me pull up that Bitcoin thing that you sent me.
It's really like Mitch McConnell.
Yeah. Let's see what you got here. All right. So Reuters Business, how American investors are gobbling up booming Bitcoin. So let's see, what we've been talking about is the bull market that the cryptocurrency is in right now. After there's Bitcoin soared, I guess, to an all-time high. I'm not sure if that's accurate though. I remember back a few years ago it was over 20,000. This is saying something else, but yet under the radar, a trend has been playing out that could change the face of cryptocurrency market. A massive flow of coin from North America to East Asia. Bitcoin.
Keep talking.
Yep. Bitcoin, the original cryptocurrency, soared to a record $19,918 on Tuesday, buoyed by a demand from investors who variously view the virtual currency as a risk-on asset, a hedge against inflation, and a payment method gaining mainstream acceptance. But the boom represents a shift in the market, which has typically been dominated by investors in East Asian nations like China, Japan, and South Korea since the digital currency was invented by the mysterious Satoshi Nakamoto over a decade ago. It is North American investors who have been the biggest winners in the 165% rally this year. Weekly net inflows of Bitcoin, a proxy for new buyers to platforms serving mostly North American users, have jumped over 7,000 times this year to over 216,000 Bitcoin, worth $3.4 billion in mid-November. Data compiled from Reuters shows East Asian exchanges have lost out. Those serving investors in the region bled 240,000 Bitcoin, worth $3.8 billion last month, versus an inflow of 14,060 in January, according to data from the U.S. blockchain researcher Chain Analysis. So the change is being driven by an appetite for Bitcoin among bigger U.S. investors, according to Reuters interviews with cryptocurrency platforms and investors from the United States and Europe and South Korea. So it says that the sudden influx of institutional interest from North American region is driving a shift toward Bitcoin trading, which is rebalancing asset allocations across different exchanges and platforms. Let's see. There you go. There's a good graph about this. So yeah, this is what I had thought. So this around that 2018 range, that there was that spike that we did get up to these kind of numbers in terms of value. I don't exactly remember what was going on at that time that there was a spike, but my feeling right now for the current one is just this hedge. Oh, you got the headphones back on?
Can you hear me without him?
Yeah, but I get a freaking feedback without you having headphones on. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So, I was just saying, like, the what they describe here as American investors going towards Bitcoin now, it's exactly what my feeling was going into it, was that they're using it as a hedge against an impending crash in the domestic market.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why it would go down anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't think so too, especially not before the bottom really drops out in terms of all this quantitative easing and all that other kind of shit that they're doing over here to stabilize the stock market. We haven't actually seen that crash yet.
That's what I'm saying. I have no fucking clue
Mm-hmm.
what they're gonna do. Like it's
and there's some like this is what they're talking about is just an influx of volume for people stocking up on coin in the meantime.
Yeah, it's like it's so hard to understand what's going on because it's like it's
such
any
a
kind
house
of
of
rational
cards.
thing. Well,
Like
it's that, but it's like how like can they turn that off at any time? Is that locked in place? Like how would you have to spook the market with such a backing? Like they're buying debt from these companies, right? They're basically there's no way for them to take a loss right now, right? Like in every circumstance, there's like a debt relief or a grant program or a tax write-off or some kind of mechanism for them to discharge any kind of negative like externality, right? Like it's just completely socialized, and I don't know if it's obviously not fair to the rest of the world, but I don't understand like the dynamics of the global economy on that level. I don't understand like what like we could watch a Richard Wolff video on it. Maybe he just did one last week. I wanted to watch. I forgot about. He's the only one I've heard that is kind of
and despite the influx here, the other thing to remember is at the time when that previous spike happened in 2017, the regulations around Bitcoin weren't nearly what it was or what they are now. The industry is much more heavily regulated when it comes to trading on certain exchanges, and when it comes to taxing. Coin.
Do we know who's buying it up though? Because don't you?
I mean, it's hard to tell because look at that time. After the coin spiraled up, and you had several large investments from a finite amount of people that were looking to scoop it up after it peaked up at 20,000. This time, it seems like it's just an overall market shift from Americans just wanting to get involved in cryptocurrency as a way to hedge against the market. So, I mean, but what I was trying to make the point of, this spike is happening in spite of all that increased regulation that wasn't existent last time. So, I mean, I could even imagine what things would be like now if there wasn't all that going on in terms of what they do to regulate how you can buy and sell crypto online.
Well, isn't the market cap big enough now that like it's a lot harder to manipulate with Bitcoin at least? Right, like
right, well, it's not
they
just
can't
about
really pump
the
and dump and stuff.
Well, no, that's not the danger when it comes to regulation. What I'm talking about is more on a personal basis, where if you go on an exchange now, you got to go ahead and verify tax info. You got to verify IDs in some cases. You got to do this, that, and the other thing in order to go ahead.
So we keep track of who's buying it then?
Right. There's a lot more in terms of what you have to be compliant of. At the time, there wasn't even a real mechanism to go ahead and report taxes your on your exchanging or and what you've earned in terms of value and what holdings you have in terms of crypto.
So they know everybody who buys Bitcoin?
Now that's what they're attempting to get a hold of doing.
It doesn't sound very libertarian.
Right. I mean that's the answer to what they've created with Bitcoin, is to go ahead and try to institutionalize it more.
Yeah, get the same people to put a stranglehold on cryptocurrency, and like they have on the regular economy.
Yes,
and it's fucked up. I don't know what's gonna happen. It's like it's nerve wracking because it's just like, this is so dumb. Stop. Why are you doing this?
Yeah,
like,
I mean the thing that we gotta go ahead and watch out for in the future is that I think it's more about the extending the application of it, because the problem that you see in terms of using Bitcoin in more day-to-day transactions is always the speed of it. It takes a while to conduct a Bitcoin transaction, whether you're exchanging it for USD or whatever you're trading it for. It's a difficult
it's a shame
industry.
There's no
it's a risky industry to go ahead and trade in that way.
Yeah, it's a shame there's no coin out there that just figured out how to shard the transaction. You know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Like, it'd be a pretty valuable commodity if
it would be,
they could do that.
right?
Perhaps
So,
if they had some,
yeah.
IRL backing too, maybe. Like what's the hashtag?
What, gold back security?
No, what's the hashtag they had? It was like, or was it gold backed? I guess it was. Yeah. Like,
but yeah, I mean that's why something like sharding would be revolutionary for Bitcoin, because at that point then you have more practical application. All these different websites that go and conduct online transaction, whether it be Amazon, Walmart, whatever it is, would all be able to go ahead and take Bitcoin as payments, because it would happen in an instant. It wouldn't be a thing where you would have, where everybody
would
have to.
Do you really think that's why though?
Yeah.
I mean, couldn't they find workaround if they?
It's too much of a hassle to go ahead and convert the currency. It is. You can spend hours online trying to go ahead and figure out a good way to convert large amounts of currency into one way or another. And then like the other parts of it, like, there's so much risk involved when it comes to going. Once coin is sent one way, you can't get it back. There's no such thing as a refund. All that kind of shit plays into it. So.
I mean, wait, that's how a credit card transaction works now, though. Like,
okay, if someone uses a credit card, your credit card without your permission, what's your recourse?
What? If somebody uses your credit card without your permission?
Right.
Yeah, the banks cover it.
Right. Now, so with Bitcoin, what happens if somebody goes in and gets into your Bitcoin wallet and sends shit out to their wallet? What's your recourse?
You don't have one.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Or I mean, contact the seller, and
there's no recourse. There's no real recourse. Say like if
I know, but that's the risk, and I mean, it's you know what I'm saying? Like that's like you are people who are buying Bitcoin buy it for the independence,
right?
It's not backed by the bank. It's like having money in your pocket, though. It's like if somebody steals your $20 bill, you have no recourse. It's not like unless you can contact the seller and say, "Hey, don't sell that to that guy. He stole that $20 bill off me." It's a coin. Like it's in your wallet. It's not in your bank account. Your wallet is not the same as your bank account.
Right. I mean, if you get robbed on the street for your wallet and they just take your cash, I mean, you probably have as much recourse then as if somebody breaks into your Bitcoin wallet.
Don't you store it offline anyway?
Well, no. This is what you do. You have that option, and a lot of people do. And you most of the time most people set up an online wallet on one of these exchanges, or in certain third-party apps also have wallets that you can. A lot of people use Coinbase. It's a lot more accessible. We actually use Coinbase, bro. There you go.
I know, but that would be a bank, though.
What, Coinbase?
Yeah.
It's not really a bank. I wouldn't call it a bank.
Well, if they're taking possession, if they're taking possession of our funds in a a bailee situation, like.
What do you mean in that sense?
A bailee, it's like the legal term for when somebody holds something for you. They
kind of
like. That's. I mean, it is like legally speaking. If you're giving somebody the keys to your car, right?
Well, because in theory, you're thinking they don't have. I mean, I don't know how much access they have to your own wallet. It's just like it's kind of like more of a hosting thing.
It's like a safety deposit box.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more like that. But yeah, the safest way to go ahead and keep your holdings safe is to, like you said, use a offline wallet where you store all your Bitcoin information on a little USB that you keep apart and offline. So.
I mean, what's the fine print say with the Coinbase place?
I didn't look through all. I mean, you read the terms and conditions?
No, but I would read that terms and condition.
Well, and it's not like they could just seize your assets or something like that. All they do is host up the server.
I want to see who has liability though. Like
in terms of if you get hacked.
Yeah, like who's like I'm sure that's been discussed. Like I'm sure that's part of the contract. I'm sure they probably either say
no, they absolve themselves of all liability. That's what going into the game.
Well, a bank doesn't say that.
No, but right, and that's what I'm saying. It's not really like a bank. They're independent. It's just hosting. It's like a safe deposit box, but they're not. They don't bear any kind of responsibility over security.
And they take a cut?
What? No.
They don't take a cut?
No.
So there's nothing. So why do they do it?
I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I mean, if they do take any kind of cut, maybe it's a part of the transfer fees, so it's like minimal. You don't really even notice that kind of stuff, but
I'm sure they take something, or else what's their interest in doing it? Why would they take liability for all that shit, people's valuable possessions?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like they're not really liable for any of it if it gets stolen.
But I'm saying they kind of are though. Like you would sue them. Like if you gave them your shit and it got stolen, you would sue them and that would go to court.
Well, if there was like a massive hack, maybe there'd be more liability. But most of the time, if you're gonna have something stolen, it's a individual basis where somebody just figured out a way to get into your shit.
Yeah, but don't they keep it locked behind a gate somewhere?
What do you mean?
Like, isn't that the point of putting it in Coinbase? Isn't it like like firewalled from the internet somehow? Like. Somebody would have to log in as you.
Yeah, somebody would that's kind of when you find like a wallet site, there's some sort of login, and then on top of that, you would do certain.
Well, that's
the smart thing to do is
because usually that would absolve you. Like if I fake my identity, that absolves the person who would, like if I show up at the valet to pick up your car, that you dropped off and say I'm you, right? Like it's not on the guy to know what you look like, it's like they just have to have like what's it called, reasonable just they can't be negligent, right? They just have to be not reckless or negligent and just say like, oh, I thought it was the guy. He said he was.
Oh,
he was Anthony.
That's what it is with Coinbase, where they do take a portion is when you trade it.
Yeah.
So it's not so much like you can go ahead and keep that shit to yourself, and just keep it up in that wallet that they host for you. But no, they don't like charge you rent for keeping your wallet open with them.
No, but they charge you when you move it around though. So
yeah, if you trade it for something else, like if you're exchanging Ethereum for BCH or BTC, something like that.
So you can't really withdraw it then, right? Like I guess what?
Yeah, you can. If and then that's the other part that they probably, I think they do take a fee, is if you have Bitcoin up on in a Coinbase wallet and you decide to withdraw it into your bank account in USD, then they do take a portion.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's their cut. That's what a bank does. A bank doesn't charge you rent on your money. They pay you rent on your money.
Yeah, I mean, if you maintain a minimum balance, I suppose that's true, right?
Yeah, usually they just make money off transaction fees.
But I mean, like banks also use the money that is saved up with them as leverage and stuff. They use it for other shit.
Yeah, no, that's why they work the deal out or whatever. It's mutually advantageous or whatever. I wonder if they do that. I wonder if they move the Bitcoin around like that.
No.
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 So I guess they're not a bank. So are there banks though? Are there Bitcoin banks?
No, we had a that was one idea that I had thought about doing for a little bit. Have some kind of Bitcoin bank where you do that kind of shit and store everything in offline wallet. It just never really manifested. I don't know. Maybe that would work.
I mean, I'm sure someone else has thought of it, right? We didn't just think of it for the first time.
I'm not sure. I haven't really thought about it. I haven't
looked
into it.
You could just take it. I mean, you could just take it and day trade with it. Right? Like on Wall Street, if invest in an index fund or something. if you just give your money to BlackRock.
So you would convert the Bitcoin into USD and then put in index funds, or use it to go ahead and invest in like all these altcoins or some other
thing. Yeah, no, like you could do that. Like that would be like baseline. You could turn a profit. If you just had, it's just like anything. If you had 10 grand and you put it into, like an index fund or whatever, you are pretty much guaranteed a return on that, right? Same thing with like the Bitcoin. You could take it and make money off of it, and then like operate on the same principle as a bank.
Probably the easiest thing to do is to find a good reliable wholesaler of it, and then just charge like a little bit of a markup to convert it into USD, and then catch the bounces on the way up. You know what I mean? Like maybe you can make like a quick turnaround if you can buy out and buy in really quickly. Then at that point you make at least 5 to 10% on every transaction that you do. So if I trade out 50,000 in assets that I have, and then charge 5% on that, then what is that?
Well, that's the Coinbase model. That's what we just were talking about, right?
Well, no, it's not like that. So you know how if you ever gone to like a currency exchange spot?
Yeah.
And they charge you like a certain percentage, like this is the markup that we charge on you to go ahead and convert a dollar.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's similar to that. So when it comes to, say you have $50,000 in Bitcoin, then you find somebody that wants to buy $50,000 in Bitcoin from you, and then you charge them a little bit of a markup. You'd be like, all right, I'm gonna charge you 5 points on the 50,000 that's worth at spot price for Bitcoin. So you charge them the 5%, and then they give you 52,500 instead of the 50,000 you start with. Right?
Yeah. I mean,
so, and then what you do with that 52,500 is you buy in from a wholesaler again at a lower rate at that spot price again, and then you do the whole cycle all over again.
So it's basically like a middleman.
So yeah, something like that.
So like the wholesaler, yeah, like my brother-in-law was telling me. Did I tell you this? He got guitars. He saw guitars listed for sale on like a secondhand site, like a cheap one that I don't know how he knew about, or just like not like anything like whatever cut rate or whatever, just like a reasonably priced like good deal, and he like copied the listings for the guitars and like listed them on like a more like I forget what it's called, Jambase I think, or like Music Base or something like that, just like the the all-purpose music website. You probably know PJ, right? And somebody bought it on the one site, and he took the cash and bought it on the other site and sent him the guitar, like just like middlemaning, right?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what you'd end up doing, except you're acting as that currency exchange person. But I mean, again, once you're getting into that kind of stuff, the regulations and all that stuff, that ends up being an issue for you, because then you're functioning. Yeah,
Reverb. That's
Reverb.com.
it. Yeah, Reverb.
Here you go. Yeah, good looks, PJ. Yeah. But see, at that point, you're functioning as a currency exchange agent, and at that point, then you have regulations in terms of SEC and all that kind of shit that you end up having to contend with.
Are there different prices then for
Bitcoin?
Like,
and it depends on it depends on how you're paying for it, right? So like if
I don't like that business model. Yeah, you can pay.
So
that's fucked up.
So think about it like this. So if you go on one of those Bitcoin exchange places that you take certain different kinds of payments for it. So say I paid cash for I met you up at a Starbucks, and I gave you what, 5,000, and you gave me 5,000, and you transferred 5,000 worth of Bitcoin to my wallet, right? Then you take that 5,000 and you find somebody online that wants to trade that 5,000 worth of Bitcoin for Amazon gift cards, right? So, and then you go to that Amazon gift card person, and you can charge 35%, 25% on that 5,000, right? So then you end up filling up an Amazon wallet with what would be like
6,500 or something.
Yeah, 6,500. Yeah. So you end up with from 5,000, you end up with 6,500 on Amazon.
Huh. And then you trade the Amazon for whatever the person wants.
Well, I mean, yeah.
I guess that's like those. You keep trading up and up.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, because once you have that Amazon, those Amazon dollars, I mean, you can figure out if you figure out a way to go ahead and start.
So what you're saying is, if you already have a lot of money, it's easy to make more money consistently, always. Almost like,
Well, it depends.
The economy's rigged.
No, I mean, it depends on what you're doing. Because I mean, if you're doing that with what, like $100, say you start with $100, and it doesn't have to be 5,000. So say you go with $100, right? And then you go ahead and trade that for Amazon dollars, and then you buy something on Amazon at a lower price because you traded it up for Bitcoin. You got 35% on it. You sell that, you have cash. You go back to that same dude that you bought in with to begin with. Then all of a sudden you're buying in with that, say, $135, and you just work your way up. You could do that. Yeah. You could do that little by little until the point where you amass enough cash. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we should do that. I mean,
it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Yeah, it seems like a hassle.
It is. It's a hassle. It's a full-time gig to go ahead and keep exchanging and trading away, and then finding viable ways to trade because. Like I said, a lot of that can end up being like the Wild fucking West, where, they say, okay, I'm gonna give you this Amazon card. You try to redeem that Amazon card, and it's some kind of hack bullshit from the dark web, and you end up with a locked ass Amazon account. What do you do then when you have $2,000, $3,000 locked up in Amazon dollars, and your shit got locked up because somebody gave you a bad card?
Yeah, you call the bank, right? Oh wait, there is no bank.
Right, or what happens if, say, you take like a chase pay? Like, okay, they're gonna chase pay you.
Can you verify it before you take the money? Though it's kind of your fault as a agent. Right?
How are you gonna verify this, Matt? How are you gonna verify that the transaction is legitimate?
What do you mean, like see the shit before I buy it?
What are you talking about? Like the card? You do see the shit. You see the card. You see all that
the
other kind of
numbers?
stuff. Yeah, I mean, of course you run the numbers, but the way they get those cards sometimes not always on the up and up. Sometimes those things are bad. Sometimes those cards that you get are hacked in a way, or they're.
Can't you call Amazon and verify the money's on there though?
Wait, how long is it going to take you to go ahead and do this? By the time you've already gone through that process, they already sold that off to somebody else.
Good, and you fucking
you're never gonna
avoided it.
Like, bro, you're never gonna sell anything if you're taking all that much time in verification, and then I'm telling you, going through going through a bank part of it, right? Going say that's one thing. I'm talking about gift cards, but let's go back to the bank situation. Say somebody
you just sell drugs. This seems like way too many steps, right?
Well, look, just stay with me here. So so if you have Chase, you can do like a Zelle payment, right?
Yeah.
So say with the Zelle payment, they send you, okay, they go ahead, they verify the money, they send it, you end up with $2,000 from this person that they Zelle paid they paid you, right? Then they're expecting their Bitcoin. You send them $2,000 worth of Bitcoin, or whatever markup you charge them 15%. So you get 15% on the 2,000, right? So then what happens at that point when you find out a little bit later that they hacked into somebody's account and Zelle paid you from somebody that didn't even know they sent out money, and then they request that back, and there's fraud involved.
You're off the hook in that situation. You're a subsequent good faith purchaser for value. That's like a legal.
Right.
You're a character from a log exam.
What do you think a bank does to you in that situation if they're seeing that you're a recipient of somebody else's money?
They can go after you, but you are going to have your, BFP for PV, right? Or I forget what it's called. I think that's it. you're a bona fide, man. Like you're not. It's not up to you to like. If somebody does fraud, it's not up to the seller or the buyer to know that it's fraud, right? If somebody's doing fraud, it's always their fault. And the transaction goes
you know
bad.
what the bank actually does is assume that you're in the fraud, and then they close your account.
Yeah, that's what they do because that's how fucking people with more power get to exert their will on everybody else, right?
Yeah.
They sue you, take you to court, and you're a regular guy. You can't do it.
Yeah.
You know, that's what they depend on.
See,
it's their business
that's
model.
that's what happens to you when you deal with banks is that they do that shit to you regardless of what measures you take or whatever else you take. So getting involved in coin like that, the reason that you are able to charge markups on whatever it is that you're exchanging for is because there's some kind of risk that you carry.
Yeah, it seems like your prerogative should be like playing it safe then and taking your time and not pulling the trigger before you can confirm this stuff. Like, you know, you don't get to take every deal. You can only take the ones that can wait on you. Like, you know, like,
yeah.
Or else I would just, I don't know. It sounds like being rich really sucks, really. You know, like having lots of money doesn't sound like it's that much fun, really. Like,
no.
You should just sell drugs or, you know, do drugs and like leave the day traders to the scumbags.
Yeah, that's kind of it. All right, look, why don't we do our history segment, bro? We haven't done a history segment in a little bit.
History segment.
Yeah,
we talked about history all day, right?
We did?
We're talking about like UFOs and shit.
Oh,
like,
that's not history. That's like sci-fi shit. Ready? Let's go.
It's not sci-fi. It's History Hour with Tony and Matt, where we talk about history. History time.
All right, let's go to. Let's see. Here we go. Yeah, so the history segment, I told you at the top of the show I wanted to talk about this because it involves cops and shit. But here we go.
Oh my God.
Fred Hampton.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Was Fred Hampton executed, Matt? What do you think?
Yes.
Well, this is the 51st anniversary of his assassination. And this was, let's see, 7 years after the shooting here, according to this, of Fred Hampton and Mark Clark by the Chicago police. A civil suit reveals the sordid details behind the assassination. So, in the pre-dawn hours of December 4th, 1969, Chicago police, under the direction of the Cook County State Attorney's Office, raided at the ramshackle headquarters of the local chapter of the Black Panther Party, where when the smoke cleared, Chairman Fred Hampton and party member Mark Clark were dead. 4 others lay seriously wounded. Today in Chicago, 7 years after the raid, it said the facts are slowly emerging. As a civil trial crawls through its 10th month, the families of Hampton and Clark, along with the 7 that survived the foray, have filed a $47.7 million damage suit. Edward Hanneran, 3 former and present FBI agents, an ex-FBI informant, and 26 other police personnel stand accused of having conspired to violate the civil rights of the Panthers and then covering it up. In essence, the plaintiffs and their lawyers are out to prove that the FBI and police conspired to execute Fred Hampton. At 17, Fred Hampton was a black youth on the road to making it in white America. He graduated from high school in Maywood, Illinois, with academic honors, 3 varsity letters, and a Junior Achievement Award. 4 years later, he was dead. So this is at time. By the time he was 21, he had already accomplished all this stuff.
Wow.
So, as a youth director of the Maywood NAACP, he had built an unusually strong 500-member youth group in a community of 27,000. After his nonviolent integrationist activities aroused hostility of Maywood authorities, Hampton moved toward Chicago, where he organized the local chapter of the Black Panther Party. As a Panther chief in Chicago, Hampton built a reputation as a uniter, bringing together the Rainbow Coalition of Puerto Rican, white, black, and white and black poor people, and engineering a tenuous peace among several warring ghetto gangs. His death was a blow to the multiracial United Front. Within 3 hours of the raid, the authorities offered their explanation of what had occurred. Chicago Police Sergeant Daniel Groth, who led the 14 police raiders, said there must have been 6 or 7 of them firing. The firing must have gone on 10 or 12 minutes. If 200 shots were exchanged, that was nothing. It was a miracle that not one policeman was killed.
What?
Like, really? Okay, if there was that many people, in from the Black Panther side of things that was shooting, there would have been at least one dead cop. Sorry, but yeah. At the press conference that day, State Attorney Edward Hanran issued a statement saying, in part, the immediate violent and criminal reaction of the occupants in the shooting at announced police officers emphasizes the extreme viciousness of the Black Panther Party. So does the refusal to cease firing at police officers when urged to do so several times. I don't buy any of that bullshit. See, on December 11th, Chicago Tribune ran an account drawn from policemen involved in the assault and accompanied by a photograph of the apartments, with circles around were drawn at what purported to be holes called by bullets fired at police. So, let me see. I'm trying to find what.
Dude, I gotta show you this thing I just got on Twitter.
All right. Well, let me finish seeing what this thing says. So, one cop said that as soon as he announced that he was a police officer's occupants of the apartment responded with shotgun fire. 2 raiders demonstrated how they approached the front room. They were greeted by a woman who fired a shotgun blast at them, and they stood in the doorway. Another cop explained how he had fired through a door and then received returning fire.
What?
Let's see. Despite the elaborate reenactment for TV and the explanations given by 14 policemen, it soon became apparent that the official version was at variance with facts. The bullet holes in the Tribune photograph turned out to be nail heads. Although officers Groth and Davis both alleged that Brenda Harris fired a shotgun blast at the doorway as they approached, there was absolutely no evidence of such a blast. Ultimately, a federal grand jury determined that the police had fired between 83 and 90 shots. The Panthers, a maximum of 1.
Whoa.
The grand jury indicated that if the Panthers fired at all, it was the one shot that Mark Clark fired, apparently after he had been shot in the heart. If the cops, in fact, had demanded a ceasefire on 3 occasions, they were talking only to themselves. The official explanation amounted to a cover-up, and a massive one. In attempting to resolve the issue, the raid on the Chicago Black Panther headquarters must be put into context that the FBI supervised a nationwide effort to destroy the Black Panther Party is no longer seen as a paranoid ranting of leftists, but in fact documented by staff report of the Church Committee. The report stated that FBI's counterintelligence program used dangerous and degrading or blatantly unconstitutional techniques to disrupt left and black organizations. It went on to liken the FBI's harassment of Martin Luther King to the treatment usually afforded a Soviet agent.
Yeah.
This was the directive issued by J. Edgar Hoover, was prevent the coalition of militant black nationalist groups. In unity there is strength, a truism that is no less valid for all its triteness. An effective coalition might be the first step towards a real Mau Mau in America and the beginning of a true black revolution. Prevent the rise of a... This is from Hoover. Prevent the rise of a messiah who could unify and electrify the black militant nationalist... unify and electrify the black nationalist movement. Malcolm X might have been such a messiah. He is the martyr of the movement today. Elijah Muhammad is less of a threat because of his age. King could very well be a real contender for this position should he abandon his supposed obedience to white liberal doctrines, nonviolence, and embrace black nationalism. Stokely Carmichael has the necessary charisma to be a real threat in this way. Jesus, man. That is insane. So the memo was drafted 3 weeks after the Panthers had accomplished a short-lived alliance with Stokely Carmichael.
See, it's insane to think that this is not a much more sophisticated version of this happening right now.
Yeah.
You know? Like this has been happening since then.
I mean, is there enough solidarity around one person like this to target them? So after King's death, Hoover called the Panthers the single most dangerous threat to internal security of the United States. Of the 295 actions taken to disrupt black groups, 233 were aimed at the Panthers.
233 out of 89.
You have 295 actions to disrupt black groups. See, over the years, was it COINTELPRO? Yeah, the FBI
COINTELPRO.
Yeah, COINTELPRO. Yeah, COINTELPRO. Yeah, so the FBI paid out more than $7.4 million in wages to informants and provocateurs, more than twice the amount allocated to organized crime informants. Operating at a total of 41 field offices, COINTELPRO. There we go. COINTELPRO agents supervise agents provocateurs place snitch jackets on bona fide Panthers and having them mislabeled as informants, and drafted poison pen letters and cartoons in attempt to incite violence against the Panthers and divide the party leadership.
That's what Gwen Snyder does.
Wow. Let's see. So Chairman Hampton of the Illinois Black Panther Party was.
But if they were just gonna kill him anyway,
a rising black messiah. Documents from the
why
suit
did they have to go through all these psyops?
Look, there was a local Get Hampton campaign.
Yeah, but if they were going to kill him anyway, if they were going to execute him anyway, I don't know why they had to do all the psyops. Just be like, oh, okay, this is the guy who people like. We should execute him. This seems like very like. Maybe this isn't going on anymore, right? Because they just kill you now. Like this seems like it's a lot of like nerd shit, like Fed nerds, right? Just like, oh, we'll do this. Like we'll destroy his credibility.
Check this out. There was this informant, William O'Neill, crowning achievement in advanced work on December 4th raid. 2 weeks before the attack, he provided the FBI with a detailed floor plan of the Black Panther headquarters, complete with an X over Fred Hampton's bed.
Damn.
Following the lethal raid, O'Neill was rewarded with a $300 bonus after Agent Robert Piper, also the defendant in the suit, explained in the memo to Washington, our source was a man who made the raid possible, and another memo listing the amounts of and dates of O'Neill was paid. The Bureau acknowledged his information on the National Black Panther leaders, anti-war activities from the New Mobilization Committee and the Chicago 8, and the furnishing of the floor plan. It is noted that the most information provided by this source was not available from any other source. O'Neill was so valuable that Roy Mitchell once dished out $1,600 to buy him a car and $1,000 to bail him out of jail.
What? This is the snitch?
This was the snitch that they did this for.
Yeah, I mean, but it's I feel like not enough people are aware of this, right? Like the level, the lengths that they would go to.
So check this out. This is what they say here. So Harold Bell was one of the wounded survivors. Testified that everyone immediately surrendered. Bell and two others, including Hampton's girlfriend Deborah Johnson, were ordered out of Hampton's bedroom where he lay motionless. Then says Bell, police fired from point blank range into Hampton's body.
What?
Look what it says. This is the testimony from this dude that was there. Then
what article is this from?
This is from The Nation. Then says Bell, police fired from point blank range into Hampton's body.
Yeah. I mean, this is the story that I thought people were aware of this story, but I guess they're not. Like this is what the cops do, right? I guess. Ramsey Clark, that's the guy. He was in the movie about the Chicago 7, right? I mean, Fred Hampton was in it too, but he was barely in it, right? He was not. What's his name? Sorkin is so terrible. Like he's like, it's not too often that you can see that kind of director and just tell what kind of, like, how terrible of a person they are just from the way they direct a show, right? But you can tell that with Sorkin, like the way he, like, just the way the story's told, the way like Hampton's story is not even in it, and the dynamic he picks between the main characters, it's like this guy sucks. Like you would know that without even meeting him.
Let's see. Bell's testimony about Hampton's execution-style death has been supported by Deborah Johnson and other survivors. Johnson testified that after emptying his gun into Hampton's bed, the cop walked away muttering, "He's good and dead now."
Yeah. It's what cops, that sounds totally like cops, right?
Yeah.
Like,
see, photographs of his
they-
blood-soaked mattress made it obvious that he did not get out of bed. According to the independent commission of the inquiry headed by the NAACP chief Roy Wilkins and former Attorney General Ramsey Clark, there are strong indications that he had been drugged. About 3 hours before the shooting,
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
at 1:30, Hampton was in bed talking to his mother on the telephone when he fell asleep in mid-conversation. Deborah Johnson tried to rouse him, but failed. During the raid, others tried to wake him, but his only movement was to raise his head briefly, and of course, the sound of gunfire is not usually conducive to sleep.
Wow.
So it says the coroner performed
Wow.
the first of 4 official autopsy examinations. It failed to show the presence of barbiturates.
Yeah, right. County coroner.
Later postmortems by the coroner's office, the FBI, and federal grand jury also failed to turn up any trace of barbiturates. However, an independent autopsy and blood analysis, which were performed at the request of Hampton's family by Dr. Victor Levine, former chief pathologist of the Cook County Coroner's Office, and Dr. Eleanor Berman, a toxicologist and acting director of Department of Biochemistry at Cook County Hospital, found a potentially lethal quantity of drugs in Fred Hampton's bloodstream, a dosage which would have induced a coma.
Wow.
The Commission of Inquiry attempted to resolve these differences. It consulted experts who concluded that technical errors may have been made during the official autopsies. The scientists found no reason to reject Levine's verdict. Wow.
Wow. 1 week before, a local FBI chief had asked his girlfriend to slip a colorless and tasteless drug. Wow.
That would put him to sleep so the FBI could raid the apartment.
Yeah, well, and then like we have all the proof we need. It just shows you like the cognitive dissonance, right? Like we were talking about with the UFOs. Like you can see all the evidence possible, and then just when it's put it all together, it's like, actually that's wrong. You know, like you have somebody who's supposedly an expert be like, actually no, that's wrong. You know, like it just and can't do anything about it, right? Like there was no stopping that plan. Ransom was put into motion. Like that was what are you doing?
Whoa. Here we go.
Yeah. Well, did you see that other thing I sent you? Speaking of Fred Hampton.
What else did you send me? Let me see.
The leader of pro-Brac NFAC militia arrested and charged by feds. They're not fucking around.
Oh yeah. That was about to check that shit.
I mean, this is the same thing. They're doing it again.
Right. I was about to get to that.
Like, the Black Panthers now are largely, you know, it's like the Communist Party, right? Like all the old left groups are just like, just top to bottom, just dripping with feds and like wreckers. So then they have, you know, this is a new group. I don't know. They haven't been around that long. They seem pretty legit to me. But they're not going to let that stand, right? No fucking way.
Well, I mean, it doesn't seem that way. Let me see. Let me pull up
They're
that.
not going to let, like...
Let me see.
It's tricky, too, because it's like they...
Where is this thing?
It's not like California, you know, like with Ronald Reagan, right? Where they...
Yeah, there we go.
Were able to, like, press for gun control, right? Like, the right-wing base these days is so... like jazzed up on their partisanship that you couldn't all of a sudden try to convince them that like actually like the true patriots want to support gun control in Georgia now. You know, like
Right.
no way.
So let's see. Leader of the pro-black not fucking around crew militia arrested and charged by feds. John Fitzgerald Johnson, a.k.a. Grandmaster Jay, could get up to 20 years for pointing his gun at authorities. Former DJ turned founder of an all-black armed activist group is facing federal charges for allegedly pointing a rifle at law enforcement officers during a protest in September. Man, do you see this? I mean, this is what they're trying to do, is put this dude away for 20 years, right? This is what I read earlier. So John Fitzgerald Johnson,
sounds fairly reasonable.
Yeah, known to many as an influential producer and rapper, Grandmaster Jay was arrested in his home and charged by federal agents Thursday. The 57-year-old National Guard and Army veteran is accused of pointing his gun at law enforcement officers who were deployed on rooftops at a September protest in Louisville. So yeah, he's the founder of the Not Fucking Around Coalition, a paramilitary group focused on the protection and eventual liberation of black Americans. Over the summer, he gained notoriety for leading protests of hundreds of armed black men and women in Kentucky and Georgia. A federal complaint filed against him alleges Johnson pointed an AR platform rifle and forcibly assaulted and resisted, opposed, and impeded, intimidated, and interfered federally deputized task force officers while they were engaged in or on account of the performance of official duties. This was on September 4th. This says in Jefferson Square Park on September 4th, held in honor of Breonna Taylor, according to the complaint. Yeah, wow. See, 3 members of the Louisville Metro Police Department, 2 federal grant officers were deployed to the roof to nearby Jefferson County Grand Jury building to keep an eye on the rally. 3 officers were allegedly blinded by light, which they determined was a flashlight mounted to a rifle being aimed at them by Johnson. According to the federal complaint, the officers identified the man with the rifle as Johnson and were concerned that he would either intentionally or accidentally fire on them. So look, here we go. Johnson faces 20 years in federal prison. I remember seeing
video of this. I remember when this happened.
Found guilty for pointing the gun in the direction of the 20 years in prison for pointing a. This is, man, that's such fucking. That's exactly what that's a playbook straight out of the fucking 70s when they were trying to.
It's like modern day Fred Hampton.
Yeah,
I mean that's what you do now.
Granted that they
just put him in jail so somebody can use slave labor.
It's what we talked about before. I mean, there was what do you call it? There's Shakur, what they tried to go ahead and prosecute her, Sana Shakur, right? And then they did the same thing to a number of black leftists at the time, trying to go ahead and find some way to go ahead and prosecute them, and keep them from being a pain in the ass to what they were trying to change. Let's see, Aaron. See, all those white dudes that raided those fucking capitals, and I didn't hear about one of their leaders getting arrested.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Just selectively enforcing it in order to punish threatening.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the black militia, right?
Right.
Like this is.
Let's see, and then
they do as much as this that they can get away with. Like in Fred Hampton's day, they could get away with executing
just straight up murder.
I
wouldn't doubt what the witness said there that was present at the time. I mean, they really made a thorough job. They fucking poisoned his ass, and then on top of that, shot him, and then shot him again in bed. I mean,
he was the Messiah, dog.
I mean, that's what they
had to do it.
I mean, that's how Hoover categorized him. But
what the fuck did they think was going to happen though?
Well, I mean, look, you got to think about it. How dangerous that would have been for their interest if you have a dude at 21 who's able to do what you can't even do now. You can't get class solidarity now, and then on top of that, you have him putting all these black gangs that were supposedly feuding with each other, put their differences aside in order to help further this cause.
You
all of
do
this
that
again
now.
at 21. So yeah, tie it back to the Portland guy. It's not just race. Government protects their interests, right? And see,
yeah. I think the Portland guy was a little different. I mean, he wasn't like a leader of a group. I think he was just they were getting revenge, right? Like, yeah, they thought he was dangerous. B, they just wanted revenge because they're chuds that run those orgs,
Yeah.
right? The DHS, they're like, you know, the chud force.
Well, I had a few Fred Hampton tweets that I wanted to go through, but the one from
Do you want to play that video I saw going around today?
Which one?
There's a clip of him talking about.
Oh yeah,
class
I have that
solidarity.
one bookmarked. But let me go to Ilhan first. So you can jail revolutionaries, but you can't jail the revolution, and you might murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom fighting. Yeah, 51 years ago, police murdered Fred Hampton, and he was right. Freedom fighting lives on.
Hey, did we finish that article about the NFAC guy?
Which one?
Oh yeah, that was it.
Oh yeah, we did.
We should see if we can find that video. I remember when
Yeah, no, I have
came
it.
out.
Yeah, I have it bookmarked. But let me get to it. So, is it this one? I have a couple of them bookmarked up. So.
They want to us. We might not always say the Black Panther Party that they can do anything they want to us.
This one's
We
good.
might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips that I am a revolutionary. And you're going to have to keep on saying that. You're going to have to say that I am a proletariat. I am the people. I'm not the pig. You got to make a distinction. And the people are going to have to attack the pigs. The people are going to have to stand up against the pigs. That's what the Panthers are doing. That's what the Panthers are doing all over the world. They always say the Black
Damn.
Panthers were so based.
I mean, you see that's why that's part of why they killed him. Look at all the anti-cop
Nothing
shit.
like that now. No, just the rhetoric. It's like Marxist, you know.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing like that, right? There's no kind of revolutionary org in that spirit whatsoever. Like,
let's see, I got another one.
This NFAC group was not, you know, they weren't like political, really. I don't think, right?
Let's see.
What makes them mad about it?
Yeah,
what
this
makes
is
them
it.
mad about it is that they had black people and white poor people and red poor people and Puerto Rican poor people and Latin American Puerto Rican people of poor people of all descent. They had them caught up in their movements based on racism when the Black Panther Party stood up and said that we don't care what anybody says. We don't think you fight fire with fire best. We think you fight fire with water best. We're going to fight racism, not with racism, but we're going to fight with solidarity. We said we're not going to fight capitalism with black capitalism, but we're going to fight it with socialism. We stood up and said we're not going to fight reactionary pigs and reactionary state attorneys like this and reactionary state attorneys like Hanrahan with any other reactions on our part. We're going to fight their reactions with all of us people to get together and have an international proletarian revolution. Right on. And that's saying all power to you.
Oh God.
That's saying that no matter what color you are, there's only two classes. And that's saying there's a class over here and there's a class over there. And the reason that this class over here has never did anything to get this class off its back because this is lower, this is upper. This is the oppressed, this is the oppressor. This is the exploited, this is the exploiter. And these people in this class have divided themselves. They say, I'm black and I hate white people. I'm white and I hate black people.
You see
I'm
that?
Latin American and I hate hillbillies. I'm hillbilly and I hate Indians. So we fight amongst each other. And you've heard the testimony of pigs here. You got pigs of all colors. You know that. You got pigs that are white.
He really was like
You even got pigs that are black.
Irreplaceable, man.
Like as close to like the Messiah, right? Like as I've encountered, he's the like American Gaddafi.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they want to keep you to believing that I'm your enemy.
You see? That's shit. How the fuck is he able to do it?
And hair on his face. They want to keep you thinking that he's your enemy. Why? Because if ever you would disregard him and overlook him just for a minute and throw away that question of racism and started to dealing with a little logic, then there would be no one else you could attack other than Hanrahan, other than Davy, and other than Tricky Dicky Nixon. If you make the right decision, then the oppressed people of the world can get complete satisfaction. I know you return a verdict of not guilty. Thank you.
It's just so like it hasn't been duplicated since, hasn't even been approached, right? Like I guess Jesse Jackson maybe,
not
like,
even
a little bit, and even half of it, even like a quarter of it, right? Like he's got it all, right? Like is like smart, charismatic, like knows the right, like has the right morals, has the right like philosophical and political groundings, and it just knows the score. He knows exactly what they're doing, and he knows how to explain it in a way that like
that just
clear.
resonates across the board, right?
And he's right. Like you can't. How can you hear that and disagree? It's like he's factually correct. Like this is what's happening.
Yeah,
like,
and then and what he said there is like they have us divided amongst each other, where you have black people hating white people hating black people. Like, you talk about Puerto Rican people in that sense, but you can apply it across the board to anybody that is part of the working class.
How many times have you had that conversation with people being like, no, this is what's happening, and then being like not,
and then you get dragged in that it goes right into a culture war thing where, and then that's what even from today, what you're seeing now, when the point was made by a few people about how the work that Fred Hampton did to create a rainbow coalition, and like some people were saying that it was like whitewashing his legacy about him being part of a black militant group, and
how
that
could
part.
I
mean, I look. I mean,
how do you whitewash Fred Hampton? Like, he's like, I see how they do it to like, like other socialists in history, but like,
But
he was.
I mean, look, what he did goes beyond just like, and what he did as a Black Panther for his own race and for his own people, and that can't be understated. But what he did was bridge that gap that like you said, it's not duplicated since then, where you can have some level of class solidarity beyond all of that, beyond even the differences as far as what kind of how your identity politics plays into your overall philosophy. Because like everybody there's at the root of everything among class, there's a shared struggle. And
who's this asshole in the chat?
I don't know. I didn't. But just to go ahead with these, this was the photo that the cops took here after taking his body out. They seem pretty damn pleased with themselves. But murdered while asleep in his bed during a raid on his apartment by Chicago police in conjunction with the FBI. Hampton had been drugged earlier in the evening by an FBI informant. Jesus, man. No, not you, not you. There was it's on YouTube. On YouTube, Aaron.
He didn't. Oh. Sounds like a dickhead.
Yeah, we had to throw him out.
Sounds like he didn't like your pronunciations.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, no. But yeah, I mean that's Fred Hampton, and like you said, I mean, there's somebody like that, you don't get two of them.
I mean, there's no reason why you shouldn't have two of them. They specifically worked so hard to prevent something like that happening.
Right.
And it's a wonder that they have been so successful. It's not, but it's these same things that he's coming. I guess they've just gotten more and more complex about the way they put up impediments to that, right? Like.
Yeah, this was the tweet that I was seeing responses like that about the whitewashing thing. Jacobin put up an article about he was murdered because he was incredibly effective at uniting poor whites in Chicago with Black Panthers to fight racism and capitalism.
Man, it's like, I guess it's dangerous, man. Like,
No, bro, you're cool. Don't worry about it. Yeah, sometimes we get people like that pop up in the YouTube side of things. Not so much the Twitch side. Twitch side, we've been cool.
Yeah, people are cool. No, it's just some like, I feel like his thing is just to just go by and like fuck with people. Like what?
Yeah,
like,
probably.
He gets off on like telling people their stream sucks. Let me. I'm trying to reply to him. damn.
Yeah.
You just. I was gonna say something like.
I mean, look at this. Look at this. The type of comments that I was talking about, though. Like, I mean, Fred Hampton was murdered for being a black revolutionary. COINTELPRO, right? I'm gonna eventually get that right. I don't know why I'm
Yeah, COINTELPRO. That's what his beef was.
COINTELPRO.
He was like,
yeah, COINTELPRO was not about uniting the whites.
You mispronounced COINTELPRO wrong.
Yeah,
like,
don't center whiteness in the war against the Black Panther Party. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't.
That's why we don't have a Fred Hampton now, right?
Yeah.
Like, people just like moronically fighting about shit that's just, what are you doing? Like, you didn't have to like take that out of, like, you didn't have to, that, why was that your response? You know what I mean? Like, is that something that's even like the way it's phrased, like, oh, don't center it, like, don't make it your remembrance about this fact. It's just like, it's a fact among others. Like, everything is everything. Nothing is just one thing. But like, you're writing a tweet, you put like, this is a couple good things about this guy. It's like, there's an article, you know, that you can read for the full story, right? Or you can look at this 180 character tweet and,
you know, and
like, get some sense of it. And it's just like, that is why they killed him, right? Like,
that's one reason among. I mean, that's,
yeah.
I mean, without
like,
a doubt, that had to be a reason why they would kill him.
Just the fact that, like, it's something that hasn't been seen since then and hasn't been.
Yes.
You know, they're probably much more effective at tamping down, and it's a lot more dangerous of a task. So it's not like often that it's attempted.
You know, I mean, look, I mean, something like that. Like, if you had like, this was a dude at 21 that was doing this work and was already that influential enough to bring people together in that way. What would that dude have been able to do if he lived into his 80s? You know, we're talking about 60 years of work.
You know how it goes. You either end up like Clyburn or you end up like.
But actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because I had this tweet that that I caught here. There's a reason why MLK, Malcolm X, and Fred Hampton were assassinated while John Lewis, Jim Clyburn, and Elijah Cummings became congressmen. The former fought capitalism and imperialism, while the latter maintained controlled opposition.
Yeah, I mean, or they just got bought out at a certain point. You know, but
yeah, can't disagree with this. Good take from Nick. This is a guy black people should look up to, not fucking Barack Obama.
Yeah. I just, like, they would do. That's what they would do now, right? They wouldn't execute him per se, or that they would try, right? Which is what they did after Ferguson, right? They like.
I mean, I don't know what they would. I don't know what they would have done with this dude if they didn't kill him back then. I mean, if he got to a point where he was so high profile, I mean, I don't think a guy like that goes into government like Clyburn or John Lewis or one of those guys.
I mean, I think we would have had, you know, an international working class revolution if they hadn't killed him, right?
Yeah, that's what it was pointing to.
But let's see. What was I gonna?
What did you have for me?
I forget what I was looking up. Damn.
Oh wait. I did have this quote though. Let's roll out the quotes now. There's a man in our community called a capitalist. Sometimes he's black, sometimes he's white, but that man has to be driven out. Anybody who comes into a community to make a profit off the people by exploiting them can be defined as a capitalist.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's like. That's what they would do, though. I mean, it doesn't matter. Even if you were a saint, it's like with Bernie, right? When they try to, like, the stuff they come up with, like, he voted for this bill that would have sent nuclear waste to this poor neighborhood in, checks notes, the middle of the desert that nobody actually lives. Or, like, Bernie once, like, was late on his child care payment in 1971, right? Like, people said he used to be a mooch. Like, that's the kind of thing they would come up with. They're like, Corbin again. Corbin's a little different, but like the same sort of idea.
Shit.
Like, they can crush
Did you
anybody.
Did you see who else they just suspended from labor?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That Naomi Wimborne.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this was priceless. Like, so.
You gotta give them props for like having the balls to go with that. The British Labour Party, the Democrats would never have the balls to do this.
So let's go to that really fast. Here we go.
Not a proper Jew, the wrong sort of Jew, self-hating Jew. I was called that for the first time when I was 19 years old at university, where I made a speech in defense of a pro-Palestinian motion. And it was in the Jewish Telegraph. And they front-paged it. This self-hating Jew, she must hate herself when she looks in the mirror. I was 19 years old. I've had people phone me up and say, we're going to put you in a wheelchair. We know where you are. We're outside your door. Probably the worst incident was when I was with my sister at a meeting about anti-Semitism with all Jews on the panel. And people were shouting at us, capos, capos.
You're called traitor Jews, capos.
Capo was a Jewish inmate of a concentration camp who collaborated with the authorities. We're talking people who collaborated in annihilation of their own people. So it's a pretty bad thing to be called. And it's Jews calling other Jews. Not nice. As a Jew on the left, who is intensely anti-racist and intensely aware of what anti-Semitism is and how dangerous it is, to be called an anti-Semite oneself is about as low as it gets. It's a bit like being accused of paedophilia or something. I cannot really think of anything worse. And it undermines the fight against real anti-Semitism. This is one of the most frightening things for me. Mm-hmm. People have been weaponizing accusations of anti-Semitism for political ends. The fact that that is going on seriously undermines and endangers our chances of dealing with genuine anti-Semitism, which is a real threat in our society. One of the biggest problems we face is the treatment of our community as if it was just one monolithic block. This is the typical trope of all forms of racism. The Jewish community is not one undifferentiated thing. Its opinions vary, just like every other section of the community. A lot of us are anti-Zionist, and people need to realize that going back generations, Zionism was not the creed followed by all Jews. Far from it. Marek Edelman, leader of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising in 1943, said that Jews should always be with the oppressed and never with the oppressor. I mean, for a section of the population whose history, much that's magical and wonderful, but so much that is to do with persecution, the fact that people with that history should identify with the oppressed in every setting seems self-evident to us. And that's where our support for justice for Palestinians comes in. We are identifying with the oppressed. And for anybody to suggest that it is the Israeli state which represents the oppressed in that conflict is pretty short-sighted and misguided.
Stop all arms trade with Israel now!
Jeremy Corbin
Again,
is the reason.
How could you disagree with this?
Yep.
More than 300,000 new people flocked into the Labour Party at the end of 2015 and soon after. To have somebody leading that party who was in solidarity with the oppressed against the oppressor consistently throughout his 30-plus years as a Member of Parliament was just such a breath of fresh air. Somebody who clearly wanted to transform society, who really wanted to tackle privilege and inequality in society. It was a hopeful time for all of us, and it was a project that we thought worth fighting for. And it needed defending because all those people who have a vested interest in putting a negative to everything positive that Jeremy said and did, they were mobilising against him and what he represented. One of the most ludicrous allegations against Jeremy Corbyn was that he exhibited anti-Semitism in chairing a meeting in 2010 in Portcullis House, where the main speaker was a Holocaust survivor from the Netherlands called Hayo Meir. I was at that meeting, and what Hayo did was to put on a screen comparisons between the treatment of Palestinians in the occupied territories and the treatment of Jews in areas occupied by the Nazis. And there were uncanny and very unnerving similarities between the way these two communities were treated by the occupying powers in each case.
I saw in Auschwitz that if a dominant group wants to dehumanize others, so as the Nazis wanted to dehumanize me, these dominant group must first be dehumanized in a way themselves by diminishing their empathy due to propaganda and indoctrination in order to be able to be as cruel as some were. Okay, but the same holds nowadays for Israel.
The most shocking thing to me is the portrayal of that meeting as somehow despicable because we saw a Holocaust survivor comparing his experiences with what he could see happening to Palestinians. What was horrifying about that meeting was that there were a bunch of really intolerant, bigoted, aggressive, bullying, pro-Israel campaigners in that room who shouted "Hi-O down." It went on for a long time, and lots of us in the audience was sort of saying to Jeremy, can you please call the authorities to get these people out? They are harassing and intimidating an 80-plus-year-old Holocaust survivor. It was intimidating, it really was, to be there. I remember it vividly. It's really important that we don't forget to talk about freedom of speech. We are being no-platformed, we are being cancelled, we are being denied the freedom to express legitimate points of view. People who claim to care about
it's clear where the right and where the wrong
human
is.
rights,
Right.
freedom of
They're
speech,
doing it
freedom
because
of
they
expression,
represent the
freedom of the
interests
press
of the
and so
ruling
on.
class.
All those people
and
should
they
be
have
up
the
in arms
support of
about
all the
what's been
institutions.
happening to Jeremy Corbin and his associates in the Labour Party. So far they're silent.
It doesn't
there
represent
are so
the
many
popular will of the
people who
people at
have just
all.
ceased to care about truth and facts. This is very hard to counter when the mainstream media themselves do not show respect for actual truth and actual facts in some cases. The media has totally sidelined and ignored left-wing Jews. Not only left-wing Jews, eminent Jewish scholars who have written extensively on the subject of anti-Semitism in the Labour Party and demonstrated that the definition that is being pushed to define what is anti-Semitic is untrustworthy, faulty, actually dangerous, because it conflates being Jewish with being a supporter of Israel, being Jewish with being a Zionist. One of the most important Jewish academics who has spoken on this and been ignored is actually the American academic Kenneth Stern, who wrote the original document upon which the IHRA definition is based. And he has said on a number of occasions, in writing, in letters to Congress in the States, I abhor the way this definition that I drafted to assist data collection is being used to suppress free speech.
That was not the purpose that it was designed for.
I abhor the way it is being deployed in universities to prevent people who have a certain view about Palestine and Israel from expressing it. Anthony Lerman, former director of the Institute for Jewish Policy Research, has written extensively on this subject. Do you ever hear of these people being called to be interviewed on any mainstream organisation? Never. And all the work that they've done is completely ignored.
As a college professor, I'm also concerned about Jews that are anti-Zionist, and they're left out in the cold here and in fact made targets. We have websites that go and hunt them and put dossiers on there. I think this will only encourage that type of activity.
You can have an organisation like the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism, which was one of the instigators of the Equalities and Human Rights Commission report into Labour Party's handling of complaints about anti-Semitism, quoted over and over again as if it were a leading authority, whereas in fact it was created in 2014 during the Gaza conflict. And these people are quoted over again. Type Campaign Against Anti-Semitism into Google and you will get innumerable media references. Type in Anthony Lerman or Kenneth Stern and you'll get a few learned dissertations here and there and virtually nothing in mainstream media. We look back at the history of oppression and pogroms that my grandparents had to flee, came to this country, settling into a host community where you know that you are not treated as equal, or you're treated as weird and odd and you have a funny accent. just to become part of that and to join in the resistance against fascist movements, Cable Street, trade unionism. So many Jews were active in the trade union movement, still are. So many Jews were active, going back to South Africa again, who supported the ANC. Looking at the civil rights movement in America, where so many Jews were on the front line. So that is our tradition. That's why we've adopted that slogan about being with the oppressed and never with the oppressor. Because there are great Jewish traditions that we should be hanging on to, not this lining up with the establishment, helping to destroy a movement for justice and peace and decency. We know what side we are on. We're with the people who want justice and peace and decency.
Yeah. Usually I don't like to play all those clips all the way through, but
no,
I mean,
it was really interesting.
Yeah, no, that
I only watched the beginning before.
Yeah.
But the way she goes on to explain how they drafted the definition and all, it's like, it's really helpful to see how, like, what their plan is, right? Like, what their strategy would be if they tried to duplicate it again in, the UK or here.
Yep.
Right? They get, they prop up some group to give them the definition they want, and then they, work backwards from that, trying to find instances of anybody, basically, like, the way it was described in England, I don't know, did they say what it specifically was? Because the stuff that Corbin was accused of doing, like, she gave that one example.
Yeah.
The other thing I read before was that he, didn't resolve the pending complaints about anti-Semitism, right? That were all from one guy. They were all from 90 or something, of them. There was 98 of them. They were all 97 of 98 were from one guy or something like that. He kept doing something with the paper, like resubmitting it in such a way that it made the time to completion really long. They had much less time to do it than they should have had. And the people who were in charge of resolving it were purposely slow walking it so that so Corbin couldn't get it in time. Then they say, look, he didn't even respond to these complaints. That's how anti-Semitic he is. He, our community's suffering. It's really, it's like I said, it's the same thing in every go down the line, every issue in the world, right? In the Western world, it's there's the reality that people are obviously in favor of, and is obviously the humane path, and then there's the ruling class part, and then it's you get what they give you.
All right, let me pull up the article that they wrote about this a little bit. They suspended the chair and vice chair of the local party organization after they defended Jeremy Corbin on anti-Semitism and accused Sir Keir Starmer of colluding with the Tories. Naomi Wimborne Idrissi, vice chair of the Chingford and Woodford Green Constituency Labour Party, and Chair Gary Leffley, both have been suspended from the party. It comes after they held a meeting earlier this week in which they criticized the current Labour leadership for its handling of the Equalities and Human Rights Commission report on anti-Semitism and praised Jeremy Corbyn. In October, the EHRC's report found Labour was responsible for unlawful acts of harassment and discrimination under Mr. Corbyn's tenure. The former leader was then suspended from the party when his response to the report said anti-Semitism had been overstated. He has since been readmitted, but Sir Keir, has refused to return the parliamentary whip, which would allow Mr. Corbyn to sit with Labour MPs in the House of Commons, expressing solidarity with Mr. Corbyn at Monday night's Chingford and Woodford Green Labour Party meeting. Mr. Leffley attacked Mr. Starmer for his handling of the issue. So, he even accused Starmer of being in collusion with the Tories after removing the whip from his predecessor. He added, Keir Starmer is decided that this was the moment to suspend the former leader of the party and expel him from the parliamentary Labour Party. In doing so, Keir Starmer is not Jeremy Corbyn, who is in breach of party rules. It is Starmer, not Corbyn, who is in breach of the Human Rights Act. It is Starmer, not Corbyn, who is in breach of the EHRC, who has plunged the party into internecine warfare. In the hope of democratic socialism, we must button our lip at risk of being expelled. Well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, it kind of went back to a little bit about what we thought of what. I mean, I kind of wonder if Bernie, if Bernie as a Jew was running for something in Britain, if they didn't have that difference with him and Corbyn, if they still would have tried to play like that self-hating Jew card like they did on this lady, right?
Yeah, well, they'll do it to anybody else.
Yeah.
I don't know how effective it'll be. Like, I think there's kind of a unique set of factors that allows them to do that so effectively in the UK.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they tried to do it to Ilhan, right? It didn't work. Right? So,
well,
you know, let's see what happens. It's not going to work. I don't think, right? Yeah. Like, like, there's not like as many Jews here, I don't think, especially, and then I think, you know, the Jews here are more evenly divided. Like, they're not, you know, there's like a lot of anti-Zionists. I'd say maybe, you know, most or at least half probably, and then there's not as many right-wing ones too.
Yeah.
Like the Jews in the UK are like all Tories, and they have a huge sway in the party.
All right, yeah, we're coming up on 4 hours on the stream. We're gonna go ahead and sign off now, but yeah, thanks for everybody for tuning in. Yeah, we'll be back on tomorrow with more fun stuff to go over.
Do you want to do this? What did Brian Kemp say?
What?
I don't know if I'm doing that.
All right. I don't think we want to rate anybody, bro. Let's just go. All right. Yep. You good?
Hold on. All right, we're rating this game.
Okay.
All right, y'all.
All right.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for fucking all your bits and subs and shit. Gotta go look at it.
Yeah, we're gonna.
We know what all that means, right?
Yeah, I mean we have to learn all that technical shit. Yeah, but you know, I'm glad everybody was kind of using those kinds of things. That was fun. But all right, bro.
Tony will work on his pronunciation.
Yeah, I mean I guess so. We gotta do more reading. You don't want me reading articles, you know. I need the practice. All right, later.